Every day, the claims that Epstein lives are seemingly more and more credible. Now, I will say I'm still very much skeptical over these claims that Epstein is alive. But boy, do we have another crazy one for you. According to the latest Epstein files, jail guards used a fake body. So when the photos that everybody has seen purportedly of Epstein's body are them going into the hospital. Apparently now, the photos of them coming out of the hospital were fake. They stuffed boxes into a bag to make people think they had a body. Now, why would they do that? Well, apparently it was to trick the reporters. Why would they do that? So now you've got a press release announcing Epstein's death a day before it happened. Oops, they said that was a typo. You've got people who have already questioned the appearance of the body they saw going into the hospital. And now a report from the files themselves saying the prison used a fake body. So the images of them leaving with what was believed to be Epstein, not really him. So now we have no image, or at least we know for a fact the image isn't real. And again, I'm not saying Epstein's alive, but oh boy, the conspiracy theories are running wild with this one. There are a bunch of AI photos popping up claiming Epstein was found in Israel. These are AI generated, but we'll show those anyway, and we'll talk about this. And we got a whole lot more. There's a controversy with the Democratic candidate talking about how she's running as a Republican. And she goes door to door and tells people, I'm not really a Republican, I'm a progressive, but I'm running as a Republican. And that appears to be the new political strategy, especially with redistricting. We'll talk about that. Plus, oh boy, the most important story probably in all of this is that Donald Trump reportedly in 2006 tried turning in Epstein. And a retired police chief testified to this, or at least to the FBI, that Trump did, calling Ghislaine Maxwell evil. So we'll explore this. And I actually think this is where Mike Johnson got a statement from where he said that Trump was an informant against Epstein. I think there's more that we don't yet know. So we're going to talk about that and a whole lot more. Before we get started, my friends, we got a great sponsor. It is Tax Network USA. Head over to tnusa.com/Tim. Do you owe back taxes, or do you have unfiled tax returns? Or have you filed every year but still keep owing? Did you retire and suddenly get hit with a tax bill you didn't expect? Are you a business owner with messy books and a balance you cannot afford? Maybe you pulled money from your 401k or IRA early and now the IRS wants its share. However your tax issue started, the outcome is the same. Your balance is not going down, penalties are growing, interest compounds, and many of you are about to owe again for the upcoming tax year with no plan in place. Stop what you're doing and call Tax Network USA. The IRS is not waiting. The IRS is enforcing collections through wage garnishments, bank levies, and property seizures. They can even file for you without your consent. This is where Tax Network USA comes in. With over 15 years in business, there hasn't been a tax case they haven't seen or resolved. They specialize in tax controversies and help taxpayers nationwide get back on track by resolving back taxes and unfiled returns once and for all. Whether you owe $10,000 or $10 million, their team has resolved over $1 billion in tax debt. They can do the same for you, but you got to call now. They're offering a free investigation call with the IRS. After that investigation, they put a clear case plan in place to resolve your tax problem and get you back on track. This is about using your legal rights to take control before the government sets the terms for you. Do not wait for another IRS letter or a frozen bank account. Call 1-800-958-1000. That's 1-800-958-1000. Or visit tnusa.com/Tim. Click the link in the description below as well. And also, check it out, my friends, at castbrew.com. Get your Dr. Alex Stein's Big Booty Latina Love Potion. Alex Stein isn't a doctor. It is our Valentine's Day blend, guaranteed to spice things up in the bedroom. It's not guaranteed to spice things up in the bedroom. And it's available now. It ships on the 13th. I got to get better at, I'm usually really good at talking fast, but I'm trying to talk too fast for this one. The bag is largely a joke. It's Alex Stein's Valentine's Day blend. Pick it up while you can. And again, it should ship on the 13th. So Friday the 13th, I don't know if you'll get it in time, but you can order it now. We want to make sure at least you guys would be able to order it. On the back of the bag, there is a beautiful AI-generated Latina holding a bag of tacos because you know how Alex Stein likes the ladies, and he does. And he's going to help you out. Look at him. He's got a pipe and a suit and everything. So again, check out castbrew.com, support the show. Don't forget to smash the like button. Share this show with everyone you've ever met. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we have Terry Schilling.
Hey guys, thanks so much for having me, Tim. It's always great to be back here. I'm interested to figure out what we're going to talk about tonight.
Who are you? What do you do?
Terry Schilling, president of American Principles Project, where we fight every single day for the American family and our children. We've been mostly fighting against the transgender industry. We have a new documentary out about the fatherlessness crisis, Fathers Wanted. FathersWanted.org is the site to check it out. And yeah, it's really great. We tell a story about how fatherhood impacts you as an individual and makes you stronger as a man, and also is good for society.
Right on.
Good evening, everybody.
Where your mic up, brother? Gotta get that.
Good.
What are you, new?
Just get in there.
Yeah, what are you, new?
Let's get nice and close. Terry, I wanted to say that's awesome. I feel like people talk a lot about single mothers, but not about the fathers who make them single mothers. That aside, I am Elaad Eliyahu, the White House correspondent. Thank you guys for tuning in. We have a very exciting episode for you tonight. Phil?
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist, a counter-revolutionary, and I guess Elaad's the FNG.
Here's the story from the Daily Mail. Epstein jail guards used fake body to trick media waiting outside the prison while his real corpse was loaded into a van unnoticed, files claim. Jail guards overseeing Epstein used a decoy body to mislead reporters gathered outside the prison after his death, while his real body was secretly removed, according to an internal memo. A jail supervisor told FBI agents that staff at Manhattan's Metropolitan Correctional Center staged the ruse amid an intense media presence following Epstein's apparent suicide in 2019. The files allege that boxes and sheets were arranged to resemble a human body and loaded into a white van marked as belonging to the office of the chief medical examiner, prompting reporters to follow as it drove away. Unbeknownst to media, Epstein's actual body was instead placed into a black vehicle that left the facility unnoticed, allowing officers to transport the corpse privately. The alleged deception was carried out after an official warned guards on a large number of journalists gathered outside the jail and said he would arrive at the loading dock with a separate black vehicle to remove the body. The records also reveal investigators highlighted a handwritten note found inside Epstein's cell at the time of his death, which was not treated as a suicide note. The note, which investigators said was difficult to read, appeared to list grievances about jail conditions, including complaints about food, showers, and bugs. Here's a question for you. Why did they put a fake body to, I understand the idea was we want to trick reporters. Why trick reporters?
I guess just off the cuff, he was a high-profile person. I don't know. Aside from the fact that he's high-profile, unless there was some kind of something nefarious going on.
Were they worried the paparazzi chasing the vehicle resulted in it crashing in a tunnel, which would kill the high-profile individual, perhaps?
It's happened before.
Yeah. I got to be honest. I don't see a reason to trick the reporters about the body coming out.
Yeah.
Did anything happen? No. They put the fake body in a car, and then the reporters followed, and that was it. So what?
The worst part about this whole Epstein saga is there's so many legitimate criticisms to make of the investigation and the way all of this was handled. I also believe there's some missing footage from the time where he was in the jail.
A minute and a half or something.
He was able to potentially have killed himself in the jail, right? Which obviously shouldn't have happened. There's this that shouldn't have happened. He probably shouldn't have ever been let out or been given a sweetheart deal when he was convicted in Florida to begin with. Very strange. So there's just so many of these strange little inklings that I think give a lot of credence to conspiracy theories about this.
Yeah, considering his connections, I don't think it's that odd that he was given a special deal just because he knew so many people, so many people in powerful places. I don't think it was good, obviously. He shouldn't have gotten any kind of sweetheart deal, but it's not a surprise that someone with his connections got someone to make a call, or it wouldn't be a surprise if someone made a call and said, hey, take it easy on Epstein, etc.
So just to play devil's advocate, and I wouldn't say I would do this or I don't think it's right to do this, but I think one of the things that maybe the hospital was trying to avoid is the media circus that this can produce, and then it would prevent doing business as usual. So the hospital wouldn't like to be flooded with a bunch of people from the media. And this is just a cope, I guess, but that could be the idea. And I've covered a lot of different things in federal buildings and different buildings that prefer not to be filmed and photographed and having the media circus surrounding them. Maybe this is just a bad cope for the whole situation.
The reason why I'm going to go ahead and say that is incorrect is because we have images of them bringing Epstein's body into the hospital, meaning the press was already there. So they didn't prevent any of that. The press was well aware. Look, this is what's weird about the whole thing is that we have photos of them bringing the body in. Everybody saw it immediately. The press was well aware of what was going on. I mean, look, okay, I can come up with a reason why they made a fake body. They're stupid. That's it. They're dumb people who thought that these people are very dumb, and they were like, we better do this. And it had no impact whatsoever. That being said, whatever the reason is, it means that we actually don't have proof a body was removed from the hospital. From the prison. So again, as much as I lean towards Epstein's probably dead, every day we're getting something weird like, where's the, here it is. Unfortunate typo blamed for wrong date on draft statement about Epstein's death. And they accidentally wrote Friday, August 9th in full. Now, if they put 8/9/2019, oops, it's the 10th, I'd be like, okay. But how do you accidentally get the day wrong too? Like, I work on Saturdays, but I thought it was Friday, and I got the number wrong along with it.
Everything's like weird and messed up. It really is just an absolute cornucopia of things for the conspiracy theorists to sink their.
Well, this is the famous comparison that went viral.
Yep.
After the photo. So that photo is what we already saw of Epstein being brought into the hospital. And people have pointed out Epstein's nose is not round like that. It looks different. The ear looks very different. And a lot of people are like, that's just some guy kind of looks like Epstein.
Yep.
Now, I think it's fair to say when you die, your body does weird things. That's true, too. And I'm not going to act like this is definitive proof, but I will call it some evidence. Evidence doesn't mean it's definitively true. It just means this lends itself to the idea that Epstein wasn't the body that was brought in. Mm-hmm. And then we've got the incorrect date on the press release, which again has answers, but is still weird. And then we've got this where they admit in the files they put a fake body in there for the press, which at bare minimum means we thought we had a photo of his body being removed and we don't. So now, for the people who genuinely believe he's alive, because there's a lot of fake photos going around, you can't even tell them we saw them remove the body because they're going to be like, nope, that's admittedly a hoax.
Yep.
I think there's one name that keeps getting forgotten and not mentioned here, which is Bill Barr. He was the attorney general. He was in charge of all this. He bungled this entire saga so poorly, you would think that they were trying to get more conspiracy theories out of it. And it's actually causing real problems. Seriously, like it could only be worse if Bill Barr got caught trying to like do a weekend at Bernie's with Epstein's body to get back into the island. You know what I mean? Like, this is so pathetic.
Excuse my ignorance. What did former attorney Bill Barr fail to do? Do you think in Trump 1? What
the whole
Are you
thing,
kidding? Oh my God.
I just think the whole thing was bungled from top down. I mean, letting such a high profile prisoner get killed commit suicide like this, every single thing, the case is all screwed up. Then you have the Bidens come in, and now it gets even more under the radar. Like, and now everyone's blaming Cash, which fine. I think it's fair to point fingers, but and point out things that could have been better. But it's a long time since Epstein had all this stuff happen.
Yeah, no, I've heard a lot of complaining about the attorney generals, but I've heard more complaining about Pam Bondi. I haven't really heard a lot of people trash Bill Barr for this, but
well, I mean, this happened when Bill Barr was
he was killed in the prison. Mm-hmm. Killed or murdered himself in the prison.
Yeah. Killed or murdered himself.
I don't...
committed suicide is the common phrase. But I mean, like, Barr was the AG, so I take your point. Your point is well taken. It is a real failure of Barr to allow all this stuff to happen, especially with someone, again, I'll mention how connected he was with someone that is such a high profile, even though I think that the average person like didn't have a real, good idea of who Epstein was prior to this. Now there's people that were absolutely in the know that were on that are online that knew about him and had all the details and were sure that he was a bad guy. I'm not saying that there weren't those people. I'm saying that the average person, like, he wasn't a meme until after he died, and so considering how well connected he was, you'd think that the attorney general would be like, all right, we got to make sure that this is clean, considering his connections, considering how many people could be implied in nefarious stuff if this isn't done right. And they just were like, man, whatever, man, just by the seat of your pants,
Well, and I don't think it should be lost on anyone that Barr was in charge of the Bureau of Prisons as AG, right? Like that's a big deal. And to not have the proper precautions there, it's a disaster. It's embarrassing, honestly.
We've got this photo that someone tweeted, photos. Epstein spotted again in Tel Aviv, Israel. Guess he's still alive. His death was faked by the Mossad. Is it the Mossad or just Mossad, Elaad?
I think the Mossad. I think
is the,
upper noun, like
Like you say
Like
the
the CIA.
Yeah,
CIA.
or the MI6.
yeah, the FBI.
Yeah.
The Attorney General who bungled this.
So this is funny because there's readers added context. The photos are AI generated as shown by Google's Gemini watermark and synth ID detection. They do not depict Jeffrey Epstein, who died by suicide in 2019. The issue is that these images actually don't have the watermark. There was an image with the watermark, and now presumably people are generating more that are very similar. And he's
love
like,
these.
he's wearing the jacket.
Yeah, he's got the famous jacket.
So I would go ahead and say these are probably AI generated. But here's the crazy thing. What if they're not? And I actually think they are. And we argued this the other day. My point is, you wouldn't know. We are so far down the rabbit hole already. I'm going to say it again for the 5th time. When Joe Rogan asked me what I thought about the AI future, I said I didn't think it was going to be a big deal. I think people were overhyping. He was like, really? I was dead wrong. And I was stupid wrong. That was very easy to be right about, and I was wrong. Because this was back in, like, I think it was 21 or whatever. I was like, no, I don't think it's going to be as crazy as people think. I think, we already have fake news and fake videos and out of context editing. It's already bad. This is where it's crazy.
That looks like a paparazzi photo.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I actually don't think this is AI generated. I actually think that's Val Kilmer.
He is also dead.
No.
The one on the right doesn't really look so much like Epstein. The one on the left really does.
Yeah, the one on the right might actually just be some random guy.
Yeah. That could be someone else being like, why are you blaming me?
There are a
Just
bunch
wearing
of
this
people who have who are named Jeffrey Epstein that have like posted videos on social media being like, "Hello, my name is Jeffrey Epstein. I am not that one. Please stop tweeting at me." There's also people who just look like him, but his name's probably like Bill Kaminsky.
Yeah, there was a guy that tweeted his last name was Kaczynski, and he said something about having an unfortunate last name. And I forget who it was that tweeted back at him, but it was another person with a very famous, nefarious last name. And I'm like, well,
there's
waiting for the person that is like, oh, my last name's Hitler.
You're familiar with the Hitlers, right? It's a family.
Yeah.
They refuse to change their name. Mm-hmm. And they issue, they know what they're doing. I mean, like, listen, guys, I understand it's your name, your family name. It's been around for a long time, and you don't want to change it. But they give out Christmas cards from the Hitlers. Let me see if I can pull this up.
I wonder how long their list of people that they have to send a card to.
Oh, they're adding to it every year.
You're like, man, send me a card, bro. Send me a card.
Yeah.
To be able to tell their friends, look, I got this card from the Hitlers. Elaad's over there not entertained.
Well, there's actually this story. Politician named Adolf Hitler just won re-election again and vows to change his name. I have nothing to do with Nazis. Why? 59-year-old Adolf Hitler Unoma was re-elected for the 5th time in Namibia.
He could just call himself
Why?
Adolf Unoma.
Where is this stupid article? I read it a long time ago.
59. So what does that mean? 1967. His mother just decided, like, yeah, Adolf Hitler. There's no historical context here. I'm just in the middle of Africa, and I don't know where is this Namibia. I'm in Namibia, and oh wait, I actually believe Germany colonized Namibia.
Correct.
In the first scramble for Africa.
Correct.
So
Did he get elected with that name? He won re-election.
Look,
he won
man,
election.
No, there's a history of Germans in Namibia.
German West Africa.
Yeah, so I think there's more of a.
Never mind. Hold on 1 second.
There's
more.
There are parts of the world that don't look at Adolf Hitler as anyone more nefarious than any other dictator in history.
Yeah, but they're not naming their kid that.
How do you know? Obviously they are. Obviously they are.
And he's winning.
He's winning.
I guess this is why Namibia is going to stay irrelevant.
Why was he named that?
There's bars. That,
Country.
there's bars that have like Nazi. I think there's an Adolf Burger that has like Adolf Hitler themes.
Yeah, I'm just going to be honest. I actually don't give a shit. I play into the tropes because it gets a little bit funny sometimes. But yeah, hey, go for it. He does look tough in that pic, though. The real Hitler looks a lot tougher, though.
Well, I mean, in that pic.
Yeah. And with a lot more swag than our new age.
The New Age
Adolf
Hitler with
Hitler.
the what is that? 3 chins?
Oh, it was a documentary. Meet the Hitlers. Yeah, it was a bunch of unreal people whose last names were Hitler. They were interviewed, including a guy who said his family had the name since the 1700s, and they refused to change it. Why should I have to change it? I mean, it's fair points. What do? You know, if you know,
Hitler
like,
Cafe in Indonesia.
is there?
It's a real thing, yeah.
There's in Chicago. There's a bunch of buildings with swastikas all over them.
All Indian.
And no, it's because
Japanese?
it's American.
Oh.
Because back in the day, people loved swastikas. And there,
know
about a mile, like in my neighborhood, I'll just put it like that, about a mile from where I grew up, or in my neighborhood, about a mile from where my house was. There's a building. I don't even think it's a mile actually, and it's like a 2-flat, and on top there's a very obvious swastika, and they hammered in wooden blocks to make it look like a square. But it's very obvious they're wooden blocks, and it's a brick swastika built into the structure. I went to Austin. We went there a couple of years ago. I can't remember. I can't remember what it was. I think. Oh, it was when we were down there. We went on the InfoWars and all that stuff. We went antiquing, as one does, and I was walking around in a room full of swastikas. It was crazy, and I was actually really surprised, considering how woke is nuts, and Austin is a decent amount of woke people in it. And so I went up to the counter, and I asked about the swastika room. And I was like, there's tons of stuff in there. It's just all swastikas. And the guy working there showed me his keychain, which had a swastika on it. And then I was like, I think people might get the wrong idea if they see that. And he said something like, I don't care. This is a symbol that's it transcends culture and history. It's been used all over the place. And he was like, in America, 100 years ago, people had this symbol all over their houses, everywhere.
Yeah.
It was on street corners. It was on banners. And then Hitler and the Nazis happened, and all of a sudden everyone's getting rid of it. But it was real. It existed. And I was like, well, sure. My point was largely that the left doesn't care what your argument is. And this was, 2021, I think.
Yeah, I guess that was before Hitler, though. This guy would have been born in 1967.
Of course.
Post-Hitler.
Yeah. I'm just talking
Yeah,
about how
general.
the swastika is literally everywhere.
Yeah.
And there are people named Hitler, which what is strange is, have you ever met someone whose last name was Hitler?
No.
Did they just cease to exist?
Well, I imagine a lot of people change their names.
For sure. There's a funny joke in 30 Rock. I don't know if you guys ever watched it. You have to. Where Liz has a book of baby names. She's dating James Marsden, whatever his character's name is, and he finds it, and he's like, "Why is Adolf circled?" It's like, "It was my grandmother's." Why is Adolf circled?
You mentioned Austin. In that area in Texas, there's a lot of Germans. The town that I used to live in called Bernie. It's spelled Boerne, and which is
Super
it's
German.
a German spelling, and there's a lot of Germans down there still. So
Have you guys ever seen the viral video where the woman is like, I'm traveling in South America and I found this beautiful little German village in Argentina? And then somebody commented like, nobody tell her.
Why do you think it's so beautiful?
It is kind of weird, though, because we were talking about this the other day with Nick Fuentes' point about how Hitler's a historical figure. And he makes an interesting point that people today treat Hitler like he's still alive. Like he is still an active participant in history. Whether or not you view him as the most sinister of figures, or you take a similar approach to Nick, where he was like, he's in the same vein as Genghis Khan or Napoleon. Like, yeah, they're bad guys for a variety of reasons, but nobody is going like, oh God, Alexander the Great, oh heavens. There is going to be a point where, and I think you see it with Gen Z, especially with Nick's audience, they don't look at Hitler the way, look, my grandfather fought in World War II. So this is a world leader active. I'm a child. My grandfather's telling me about a person he experienced. Gen Z are moving away from that. We're like Gen Alpha is going to be like, I don't know anybody who cared. All the World War II vets are going to have passed on, and he's going to just be another figure in history.
Yep.
Well, and that's why it's so terrible that the left just calls everything Nazis and fascists. Like, these young kids are going to grow up and they're seeing their friends getting called fascists for showing up to work on time and everything, and believing in traditional gender concepts. Like, if that's it, then they are going to reject anti-Nazism, which we should not be doing. Like, we should be anti-Nazis, obviously, but the left is ruining that because everything to them is Nazis.
Yeah, I mean, this is an argument that's been made Jordan Peterson was making this argument 12 years ago. If you call everyone a Nazi, if Milo Yiannopoulos is a Nazi and Hitler is a Nazi, it's like, this is a ridiculous comparison.
The problem is, I was just thinking about this, is that these people could not define the ideology of Nazism.
No.
And what ends up happening then is, if you guys know about that trope where it's like, what I see as blue, you may see as red.
Yep.
How do we know colors are colors? How do you define colors? Is very difficult. And so I look at something, I see blue. Elaad sees it as green, but because he's always known it to be blue, he calls it green. It's how colorblind people don't realize it unless you do certain tests. When these young guys are growing up and they're like, I like playing video games and meritocracy is great. And they go, you're a Nazi. And they go, is that what the Nazis believed? So when they're told that what they do and what they enjoy is what the Nazis are, they will falsely believe that things they do is what Nazis did, or there's some relation. And this will lead them into being actual Nazis or praising actual Nazism because they don't know what it actually is. That's the problem of what the left is doing, calling everybody Nazis and Hitler, which they still do for some reason.
Yeah, it's because it's the worst thing they can think of, partially, and also because like the left tends to be like the communists, and communists think anything that's not a socialist or communist is a fascist, and all fascists are just Nazis. They don't even make a distinction between like Italian fascism and Nazism, which Nazism is fascism, but is a very specific and unique form of fascism.
The issue, the thing is, I would describe Nazis and fascists as brutal. And it's a brutal authoritarian ideology, but I wouldn't call them dumb. I would just call them, malicious, brutal, self-interested, a lot of things. Communists are very stupid.
Incredibly dumb.
Incredibly dumb. The function of communism itself, like the idea, is something that if you literally just wrote down their idea, you'd be like, hey, that literally makes no sense. If someone came up to you and said something like, the famous quote or the phrase, from each according to their ability, to each according to their need, sounds so brilliant if you're dumb as a box of rocks. Yep. It would be like someone saying that I can power my car off of cheese. You're like, that is a very obviously false statement. Yeah, that's a statement intended to be understandable to a child. You cannot put cheese in your gas tank. The car will not go. We can get a little bit more higher level and say, don't put diesel in your gasoline tank. It won't work. Some people don't know that. And, that's why they make them different sized holes. They want to make sure you don't put diesel or vice versa. Literally, the concept of from each according to their ability to each according to their need presupposes a society in which people do not produce enough for the needs of each other, but get from the abilities of someone else. Meaning, it's a society in deficit. This is why communism never had food. You have 10 people. 5 of them don't produce enough to eat. 3 of them produce just enough, and 2 of them produce an excess. Congratulations. You are now minus EV. You are not producing enough calories to survive because the people who don't have the ability are still having their needs met. Sorry, that's how the world works. Have a nice day. I can say that of communists, and that's why they massacred so many people and starved to death. And they were brutal too, don't get me wrong. But the thing about communists is that at the higher level, they're super brutal. And at the lower level, it was a bunch of functional retards.
Yes. Corrupt retards, right?
At the higher level, the regular people, I wouldn't call corrupt. I would call them stupid, right? When you go to, there was a video I did a commentary on where this guy's like, communism just means that the workers will share. And it's like, you are very stupid.
Yep.
The powerful elites who know it doesn't work are just manipulating them because they need foot soldiers to tear down a system they don't like, so they can steal stuff.
I will tell you that the movie or the TV series that I watched that really scarred me and exposed the real horrors of communism was Chernobyl. If you watch that, the bureaucracy and the covering your ass across the board, it literally could have destroyed most of Europe with nuclear radiation. And they were going to let it happen just to cover their own asses.
To be fair, in Japan, for a different reason, they were going to allow this disaster to continue, and that was their fear of shame. So when Fukushima happened, they would not admit the severity of the disaster, and they kept saying everything was fine for the sake of preserving their honor, which is the most dishonorable thing you can do. The only thing I'll give the Japanese credit for is that the old people volunteered to go into the reactors to try and alleviate the crisis, knowing they would die. And they interviewed some of these old people saying, I lived my life. I've had my chance. Young people need a chance. They shouldn't do this job for us. And I'm like, well, I can give the Japanese that one. Americans don't have that. Yeah. Americans is the kind of culture, unfortunately, it wasn't always this way, where someone shoves their child out of the way to escape the burning building. Not everybody. I don't think conservatives largely are like that. But I believe undeniably liberals are absolutely the kind of person who would chuck their kid through the flames to get themselves out, as evidenced by the fact they get so many abortions to better their own lives.
Hey, can you make another one?
I think they chuck the white guy on the tracks to try to save a black person to their detriment.
Have you guys seen
It's how it actually plays
Starfleet
out.
Academy?
Haven't seen it. No, I can't bring myself
The new
to watch that.
Star Trek show, and it's getting just universally roasted for being miserably bad. Deep Space Nine was the last Star Trek show ever made. Okay, Voyager fans, Voyager wasn't that bad. By today's standards, Voyager is a masterpiece. But Voyager, I actually like Voyager, but Deep Space Nine was incredible, and Next Generation was incredible. Enterprise, not really interested in prequels. Starfleet Academy, this is important, okay? If you're not a Trekkie, that's too bad. You need to understand this cultural reference. It's very important. Star Trek The Next Generation was liberal pipe dream BS. I really, really do recommend you all watch Star Trek The Next Generation. I am not kidding. Some of you may not care for sci-fi. The point of the show is they proposed a futuristic liberal society and the show is under naval military tradition. So there are a lot of things like with replicators. They can produce whatever food they want. What does this ultimately become? And it was not, as the communists claim, communists. They still had Federation credits. There was currency used to trade with other cultures and societies. Within the Federation, replicators could give you whatever you wanted, but they still owned property. They literally, Picard had a vineyard that his family owned for generations. Deep Space Nine, incredible. And this is the stuff I grew up on. Proposed what would happen to a liberal society, high and mighty at peace, when it was confronted with war. And what do you get? Benjamin Sisko, the commander of the Deep Space Nine space station, false flag kills a senator from a rival species, let's just call it country, to trick them into joining the war on the side of the Federation. It is one of the greatest television shows ever made, and it doesn't get near as much credit as The Next Generation does. But the gist of it is this. Captain Picard, The Next Generation, loved, it was this image of, we are a great and noble society, and we've created this beautiful liberal system, and then they go to war. The Dominion shows up, starts massacring, and they're losing the war. So Sisko conspires with another guy he didn't know this was going to happen, but the general idea is they blow up a ship carrying a Romulan senator, tricking the Romulans into thinking they were attacked by an enemy, the Dominion, to force them to join the war on their side. This is how politics works. And he's the commander who's trying to uphold these liberal values, saying they're not real in a time of war. We will die. We are being crushed, and we will do whatever it takes to survive. And that was kind of the wake-up call to these people who grew up in this liberal society thinking, this is how life can be. It's so perfect. But they're not realizing the only reason it's perfect is because we blow people up around the country, around the world, to enforce the petrodollar, the neocon vision of people like Elaad and John Bolton, saying it is because we invade these countries, blow them up, and put the gun to their heads, you can pretend you live safely. Barack Obama, the Democrat, blew up children and young men, and when they called him out for killing civilians, he said, well, they're military-aged males, so it doesn't count. This is the reality of the machine, and that's why Deep Space Nine is so incredible. Now to the main point. When you said they would put a white guy in the train tracks to save a black guy, Starfleet Academy is the new woke garbage show. Everybody makes fun of all the new Star Trek shows. They're trash. However, despite the fact that in the new show, they say the Federation is evil, they constantly are just insulting men. Like, a component of this show is the women are always telling the men they're wrong, and the men have to accept it.
Oh, God.
Except Benjamin Sisko. He's black. They gave a whole episode. I'm not kidding. There's a whole episode in the new show where they're going to the Museum of Benjamin Sisko, talking about what a great man he was and how he did such good things. And it's laughably insane, because the only reason It was funny. I was watching Nerdrotic. Shout out to Nerdrotic. He's like, the one time they're not insulting and condescending to a man, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but he didn't point out in his breakdown that the reason why was because Benjamin Sisko was black and the writers are super woke. So they were like, if we're not going to praise Janeway, even though she's a woman, she's white. Picard's a dude. Kirk's a dude. I mean, Riker was a dude. They're all white dudes, but Benjamin Sisko, he's a black man. He gets all the praise in the world. The annoying thing about it to me, for the most part, is Benjamin Sisko, I actually think, Picard's my favorite, but Benjamin Sisko is real close because I absolutely love that episode, that show, showing this guy confront the realities of their liberal dream that didn't pan out when war came to their doorsteps. It's also why I like the reboot film, Into Darkness, although I'm not a huge fan of the reboot movies. The premise of it was they discover that there's a black ops militarization happening in Starfleet, and they find a dude is making massive warships. The Federation is a bunch of liberal, woke trash in the movie. I'm not even playing. And they're like, we don't need war machines. We shouldn't build war machines. And literally they have war on their doorstep. And this one guy, he's the bad guy in the movie, which is really funny. And he's like, we need this. Like, we need to be prepared to protect ourselves. And it was funny because they were the bad guys. I have no problem with having a strong military, having a very strong military. In fact, I think we absolutely must. I think if you want to maintain a liberal society of feminism in your borders where people can hold hands and sing songs under a multicultural rainbow, you need to have men prepared to go kill to sustain that system from the people who would come and take it from you. Anyway, that was my rant's over. I had a lot to say about Star Trek.
Well, I mean, particularly to your point at the end, like if you don't have defenders that will protect the society from outside threats, the women are certainly not going to be able to protect them.
And another component of this is, I don't know if you guys saw the what was it? There's a viral video, and you might know this, Terry. There's a woman saying that wokeness is feminization.
Yes, Helen Andrews.
Yes. When any system, when a system's internal workforce becomes majority female, it inherently becomes woke. And I would argue not even majority female, because I would argue that a lot of men are deferential.
Yes.
And so maybe around 30%, women start forming cliques, and then they start pushing for this care and fairness idea without logic behind it. They, the great quote she had was James Damore's paper arguing that maybe women just don't want to, at the macro level, work in this industry. They didn't argue whether he was right or wrong. They argued that he hurt their feelings. Yeah. And that is the female approach to it. The issue that I see is a certain portion of men, maybe, 20% to a third, maybe more, are deferential to women for two reasons. You've got, and part of my French, I have to use this term because it's the academic term, sneaky fuckers. This is an academic term, refers to males of a species that use deception or subterfuge to mate. So there are men who will tell a woman anything she wants to hear, and ladies know it too. But then you have other guys who are deferential largely because they don't care. Mm-hmm. These are guys who have seen the worst things imaginable. And so when a woman complains about something, the guy's like, I literally don't care. She says, I think we should do this, whatever. It's like, brother, I have seen a man lose his hand in an accident. I have seen a guy fall into a meat grinder. Lady, you're complaining about words. Fine, whatever. I don't care. Yep. Doesn't mean anything to me. At the same time, there are a lot of guys who are like, shut up, stop being a baby. But I think you'll end up with a lot of these, there are vets and there are people who have seen combat who are liberals. And I think it's largely because they're just like, I literally don't care. Give the baby what they want. But I do think it's mostly the sneaky fucker.
I mean, a lot of times it's like if you're in a situation where like you're at work or whatever, there's no benefit to trying to fight with a coworker that's a female. There's no benefit at all.
Well, Helen Andrews, like part of this larger piece was she makes a really great point that hit me upside the head, which is that if you have a workforce that's too much like a fraternity, you can get a lawsuit against you for being sexist against women. But there's no equal for if your workplace is too much like a Montessori daycare, right? Like if it's too feminized, you're good. And ultimately,
because men complain less.
It's because we complain less, and all of our society is catering to these female-dominated.
I believe
companies.
I believe our incel friends refer to that as the gynocracy.
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 Gynocracy. The longhouse.
The gynocracy. So I had a funny bit on the show a few years ago, and I recently told someone again. I can't remember who it was. The green room while we were in Florida, and a great way to explain the divide. Women will try to argue, feminists, sorry, not women, but feminists, the woke, will argue that we need these laws in place for equality, right? So they say, like, we have protections against sexism so the workplace can be equal. And I said, okay, let's do a thought experiment. Elaad walks into the building, and Phil sees him, and Phil goes, whoa, Elaad, nice suit, man. Actually, you're looking good. Have you been working out? And he pats him on the shoulder.
You look great.
You look great, brother. And he pats him on the shoulder. No big deal, right? Now a woman walks in wearing a nice dress, and Phil goes, ooh, Sarah, that's a great dress. Man, your body's looking good. You working out? Pats her on the shoulder. Guess who's getting fired and getting sued?
Yep.
Yeah.
No question.
Period.
No question.
There's also something to say about the amount that you could shoot the shit with a male or somebody of the same gender as
Hey,
you.
when I swore, it was for academic reasons.
Well, see, I'm just... Anyway, all of that is to say, when I used to have female colleagues, I guess I still do have female colleagues here. It's a different dynamic between men and women, obviously, and there's something to say about how that affects the workplace environment.
Yeah. Women don't understand that when they're not around, guys are just literally punching each other in the face nonstop.
That's right.
Well, that's all we do.
And just making gay jokes and pretending to be gay. And it's
episode
weird if
of an endless episode of Ow My Balls.
patting each other on the butts.
I just want to tell a quick personal story. So when my dad was a one-term member of Congress, and when he was running, there would be all these comments just talking
Thanks
trash
to you, by the way. I heard you did a good job in that campaign.
It was a great. It was a one-off. We only won that one, but so. My dad was in the pizza business, right? And he was at my Uncle Billy's pizza place, and they were doing like the gay thing, like talking with the lisp and making fun of each other, calling each other gay. And one of the waitresses was there and laughing along with it. Well, fast forward 10, 15 years, and now she's a Democrat. So she's like, oh, and Bobby and Billy Schilling would mock gay people at the restaurant by talking gay.
You know what I would
I've
say?
heard it a million times, dude. It's so
You know what my response would be if someone was like, Tim used to go around mocking gay people? Yes.
99% of America did.
Yes. Bro, it doesn't mean I hate gay people. I also talk like a dish sometimes. I'm allowed to do that because I'm Asian. Like, it doesn't mean I hate Asians. I am Asian. Like, we make jokes. Like,
Yes.
bro, calm down.
No
This is
fun
the thing.
allowed.
This is the feminization of institutions, and when enough of the power dynamic shifts, this is what you end up with.
Well, there's that famous 4-panel comic, where it's the difference between men and girls, right? And it's the guys are all in a circle, they're talking trash to each other. Oh, you're an idiot. Oh, you're a retard. You're stupid. And then one guy's like, I gotta go, guys. Have a great day. And when he leaves, everyone's like, oh, I love that guy. He is the coolest dude. And then the women, it's the exact opposite. They're like, oh, you're so pretty. I love that dress. Blah blah blah. And then she leaves. It's like, what a fucking bitch. And that is that's the two genders, right? And that's what happens to the workplace in many cases. It's just hostile. But men, you're right. Men get along. We actually don't want conflict a lot of times, and we will go along just to keep peace and keep things rolling smoothly.
Yeah.
Part of the reason is because, like with men, if the conflict gets too heated, there's always the possibility of violence. With women, they just don't. It's not that women don't get violent. It's just that with men, we have like
You've been punched in the
evolution-
face, know.
Evolution has made us like understand that if you're around guys and you disrespect another guy or something like that, there's a possibility. With women, it's very unlikely.
I agree. The majority of violent crimes are committed by men against men. And that's another funny thing is that feminists tell you that they're the victims of violent crime, and no, actually, it's like 5 times more likely that men are victims of violent crime.
But also, Tim,
men.
the highest rates of domestic violence are in lesbian households, right?
Yeah.
It's not a
Dude,
joke.
Once you give them an ounce of power, they just go straight to their head.
So let me tell you guys something. We have talked about
you
you
like
guys.
commentary?
You know that I love chickens, right? Mm-hmm. Chickens are good people.
Yes.
So most people, and I know a lot of you know this because you watch the show and you've learned so much about chickens, but there's a myth that if you put 2 roosters together, they kill each other. That is not correct. 2 roosters that are bred to fight, that's how you get cockfights. But in any normal chicken coop, you'll have a bunch of roosters. Now, too many roosters will fight. That's true in a confined space. But you can have, just depending on how many hens you have, you can have several. We had a ton. We had like 12 or 13 roosters with like 40 hens or whatever, and they got along. They hang out together. It's not correct. So there is something else. It's called the pecking order. And when you have baby chicks and they're growing up, they will charge at each other and then stop. And this is how they're determining who's going to be in charge, what the hierarchy is. So there is an alpha hen. The pecking order is the order like who gets food first, who's the toughest, and the rooster's the boss. But roosters don't need to eat as much as hens because hens lay so many eggs. When you throw food in, the rooster just kind of watches, and the hens will go off. But the top of the pecking order, she gets what she wants. So they did an experiment. They said, what would happen if we took all of the hens from the top of the pecking order and then created a new hierarchy of only the super hens? So they set up a bunch of chicken coops, 12 hens. Whoever came on top, they took it, put it in a new coop, came on top. And they did that and created a new bunch. And do you know what those hens did?
They killed each other.
They massacred each other. They're all dead. They all just died. That's crazy. Don't get me wrong. Like roosters would. Here's the thing. Like roosters fight too. But we had a chicken coop out here with I think 5 roosters in it. No fighting. Just 5 dudes hanging out all day long, locked in a box, and they got along just fine. They did not like their dad. That was weird.
That's interesting.
Yeah, and so we had to take him out. But it was 5 Barred Plymouth Rock rooster dudes.
Yep.
They're chilling. They got along.
Just hanging out.
Big, burly dudes. They all died, as chickens do. You know what I mean? Like, our chickens have a good life.
Yeah.
But
Did they hate their dad or did they want to beat him? Right? I think that's a distinction.
they were attacking him. So
They wanted to be head of the household. They wanted to be head of the roost.
He was bigger than them, and then they wouldn't let him eat. And so when we found out that he had lost some weight, we immediately took him out. And I think I don't know if he's still around, Roberto. He might be.
How long do chickens last? Like 10 years?
Up to 10 years, yeah, but usually not really.
Yeah.
Look,
They stopped laying eggs way before that.
We had one of our chickens got sick when she was 2. It was Sarah Avenberg. She was the Brahma. We brought her to a vet, and it cost $1,000 to get her treated to keep her alive. And they were like, "Are you sure?" And we were like, "Absolutely." You don't understand. She is a celebrity on our live stream, Chicken City, where we are making thousands of dollars per month. Well, at first it was. The first 2 months, we did $30,000 per month.
Oh my God.
Just live streaming our chickens. Because what we did was my brother built a machine to where if you super chat, it will spray mealworms down. It still exists. And then every $100, it plays a disco dance song for the chickens and sprays mealworms everywhere. The chickens all run out. And so we ran some commercials for it, and it was like a family thing. And it was nuts. We were generating like $30,000 a month in super chats from people who wanted to feed the chickens live. And I think if we had a manager and we actively pursued that as a venture, it would have made a lot more money consistently. But it was kind of a gag. So we eventually just it exists.
It's a nice gag that makes you $30,000 for a couple.
Yeah, now it does a couple $100. Basically, Chicken City pays the bills for our chickens.
Nice.
And we have farm fresh eggs every day. So, if there's a will, there's a way.
You could probably expand that to like other animals, like wolves and
we wanted to do Monkey City and Cat Town.
Monkey City's interesting.
If you got like mini cows, people would love that because people love
It's a really, really great idea, and we would just need business development for it. But the idea was to go to like schools and do events where it's like we pitch to them, hey, we want to show Chicken City, and it's a virtual feed the chickens, and it's a way for them to learn about farm animals. And like the general idea was not to make money off of schools, but to just promote it. So you can say like families, hey, watch us with your young kids if they want to see chickens, and it's a way to bring the petting zoo or the farm to your home without any of the travel or stuff like that. And we wanted to do goats and mini cows was one of the ideas. It's just honestly all the ideas we have, we can't do all of them. We're still working on the card game. It just takes forever.
Sarah wants a mini cow real bad, so
you get about like a gallon of milk per day.
Something like that.
A gallon of milk. Let's jump to some real news, ladies and gentlemen. We got the story from ABC. Ex-police chief says Trump told him, "Thank goodness you're stopping Epstein," in the 2000s.
Liberals most affected.
Trump allegedly told the chief everyone has known he's been doing this. He called Ghislaine Maxwell evil and an operative. The police chief's name, Michael Ryder, is redacted for the documents, but they lined up the information. They figured it out. Writers detectives were investigating Epstein for allegedly recruiting girls as young as 14 to provide massages that turned sexual. The information about Trump's alleged call makes up just a small part of the 4-page FBI report. Now, Donald Trump has said in the past he kicked Epstein out. Mike Johnson said Trump was an informant against Epstein and then walked those comments back. I think Trump was an informant against Epstein.
Yep.
I think that there are certainly a lot of nasty things about Trump in the Epstein files, perhaps. And I think the ones that exist pre-2024, by all means, investigate. The problem with the Epstein files, and this is, look, I'm glad they got released. I support Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna in working to get them released and get more names unredacted. However, it must be stated that there are documents from 2024 and 25, well after Epstein's long dead, FBI crime tip documents that falsely malign innocent people, one of which was Tony Hawk. And this is an insane fabrication where someone called the FBI tip line claiming Tony Hawk was on Epstein's island while she was being trafficked there, which is just the most ridiculous lie imaginable. It's just absolutely false. Tony Hawk got married in Fiji in 2006 to a ton of PR. MTV covered it. And this person claimed that he got married on Epstein Island instead. So we know that's definitively false. So that's the problem with a lot of the later whistleblower claims that came out in 24 and 25 after they already tried destroying Trump and his legacy and accused him of being involved in this stuff. So that being said, when Trump says he read on Epstein, when Mike Johnson said he was an informant, no, I take that back. And then you find out that a police chief was like, Trump called us and begged us to go after him. Sounds like Trump was actually anti-Epstein for a while. And I think one of the reasons why Trump didn't want the Epstein files released, there's several reasons. One of them might have been these documents may prove, as they actively may be right now, that Trump was informing against other powerful individuals. Imagine like Reid Hoffman or some of these people who went to Epstein Island all the time finding out that Trump was actively working with police to investigate the people involved in Epstein's inner circle.
What do you think the odds are that this was Trump playing 4D chess, playing the long game? You slow walk this
0
in the first admin, you let the Democrats build a frenzy over this, and then you come out, oh no, it was actually Gates and Clinton and Prince Andrew.
I don't think so.
Trump's the informant.
I think Trump didn't want them released because for two principal reasons. One was the innocent people who will be caught up in false allegations, of that himself included. Although, I mean, maybe some of them are legit. I don't want to defend Trump on everything. But the later allegations are ridiculously insane. I can't even repeat some of them, but they are top tier retardation if you believe them. Like, I can't repeat them exactly, but claims in 2024 that Trump took a measuring tape and then went into a pageant of underage girls. Like, no, guys, this is absolutely made up fantasy nonsense like the Brett Kavanaugh stuff. Okay. But I think you see that email from Epstein to himself where he accuses Bill Gates of getting an STD from Russian hookers, accidentally giving it to his wife, and then trying to slip medication into her drink so that she gets cured without being noticing it, and how he wants $30 million. Trump goes to Gates and says, listen, you're on my side now, and we're going to make sure these files don't come out. And Bill Gates says, done.
Mario Nawfal is currently releasing some really obscene photos. They're blocked out, but like
minors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's a lot of photos and videos of minors in the Epstein files.
Yep.
So for Trump, I'm going to say this. I think Trump wanted to wield the One Ring. He's thinking, Bill Gates comes to him and says, please, please, please do not release these things. And Trump says, what are you going to do for me? Trump's probably thinking, I win. I win now. And so he's got Reid Hoffman panicking. He's got Democrat donors panicking. You got these Democrats coming out who flipped and are like, you know what? I was wrong about Trump. I shouldn't call them Democrats, but they were liberal personalities, wealthy individuals, realizing how wrong they were.
Yeah.
I also think Trump was concerned that legitimately there are innocent people. Like I mentioned, Tony Hawk. This is an insane false allegation that stems from the fact there's an action sports photographer named Mark Epstein who took pictures at Tony Hawk's wedding in Fiji. And someone must have seen that photo from Mark Epstein, believed it was Jeffrey Epstein's brother, assumed the island they were on was Epstein Island, and then called the FBI and made a fake claim because it's just ridiculous. So Trump probably was concerned about that. I think Trump was also concerned about how it makes him look. That being said, I ain't cutting Trump any slack. Now that we know that they've covered up the conspirator documents, there's a document saying that they were investigating co-conspirators to Epstein. There's photos and videos of minors and children. Dan Bongino was like, look, a lot of these things were hearsay and, fake tips that were uncorroborated. All of that is true, but there's still no excuse for them not exposing these deep, dark, corrupt pedos. Like, I can understand. I can understand Bill Gates didn't do anything criminal. If it is true that he got an STD from Russian hookers and gave it to his wife on accident, that's not illegal. He got divorced. I can understand why it's embarrassing. And I can respect someone saying, please don't release that email. It's not material to anybody. It's just internal drama that's gross and embarrassing.
Yeah.
But there's other stuff in there, like that's already being brought up, that I would say is shocking to the conscience that Trump called it a hoax. Shocking.
Well, I mean, the hoax thing from Trump was not about, or at least it seemed to me that it wasn't about like whether the stuff in there was a hoax. It was his connection.
Right.
He was saying that the Democrats, this was a hoax, that that him being connected to any of the nefarious activity in there, that was the hoax. So whether or not, I mean, obviously people on the left, Democrats, they're going to say that that's not what Trump meant, but the only reason they're going to say that is because their entire existence is to counter-signal anything that Trump says. You know?
I believe the reason that the president didn't want this to come out, there's a few reasons. I think Tim hit on a few of them, but one of the other main reasons that he didn't want this to come out because he thought it would be a huge distraction. When he calls it a hoax, I believe he's really just saying it's a distraction. It's a hoax as in it's a distraction and preventing him from accomplishing more in his administration. So instead of Congress doing things that he'd like to do, Thomas Massie is introducing legislation to expose these files that are going to lead people on a wild goose chase that won't satisfy anybody. I think also many people in its administration overpromised and then underdelivered, and that makes everybody in the administration look bad. So, for example, AG Pam Bondi overpromised and underdelivered and made all these influencers look like complete morons when she hands them these files. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel have been talking on podcasts for ages about what are the Epstein's files hiding? What are all of these people hiding? For ages, they've been loosely accusing people of all this different crap. And now, frankly, when they're deputy FBI and FBI director, we're not seeing any concrete evidence of anything come out.
You're awfully defensive.
Animated about
defensive. I'm going to take a quick search into Epstein's emails. Oh, what's this? Eliyahu.
Oh, fuck.
Look whose name appears to. He's swearing again. Oh, shoot. Shlomo Eliyahu.
David Stern, that's former NBA commissioner.
Oh, I think despite the fact it's not literally about Elaad, I still think it implicates him. It was from 2012. How old are you, Elaad?
I'm 32. Ooh, washed up.
20 years.
So this
but all
was,
that's to say, it's
14 years ago.
Yeah, you were a teenager.
This is just
I'm kidding. It's not
really
actually
obstructed the administration from trying to accomplish certain things. And now they have all of the Democrats. People are, again, unreliable narrators when they talk about this case. People are desperately using this to sling mud at Trump. You have all the Democrats calling him a pedophile. And of course, it's just a wild goose chase. And now, as far as
it's not a wild goose chase,
the accusations and looking for certain things that aren't there is the wild.
There's actually a lot of stuff in there.
I don't think people are satisfied with anything from the.
It doesn't change the fact that there's stuff,
bro. There are emails. So they're
until we find people implicated in
they redacted their names.
Working.
Bro, there are emails about torturing girls and naughty little girls and other things, and the names are redacted. Now, the argument is it's because these people are under investigation, and to be fair, the DOJ did say that. Some of these names are people who are being criminally investigated. We're not going to release their names because that's evidence against them. And so my response is just don't release evidence. The problem then is no one will be satisfied because they can't release evidence.
These guys should obviously be charged and convicted to the fullest extent of the law. But as I understand, as of right now, Ghislaine Maxwell was finding minors for Jeffrey Epstein, and he didn't particularly want to share his minors.
I got to be honest. That was the story they said before the files came out, and then we found out about all these people who were there.
Well,
just to be like real quick, like if it's true that Maxwell was trafficking minors to Epstein, to Jeffrey,
correct.
And then Epstein was having all these people over his island. Those people all they were stricken blind, deaf, and dumb the moment the young trafficking victim appeared in front of them.
Yeah, and it's totally it's totally stupid.
Yes.
And I mean,
yes,
that's the thing too. I mean, also after the fact where they convicted him in Florida, these people were still choosing to hang out with him, and that's sort of an indictment on them.
Demonic smiting. It was the opposite of divine light. So, Reid Hoffman goes to party on the island as he does, just around the time that Every time, it's like a Benny Hill thing. Like, Ghislaine Maxwell's got a bunch of little girls she's trafficking, and Reid Hoffman's plane lands, and they're all running around frantically. And every time Reid Hoffman spins around, they spin behind him and run through the wrong door, like in Scooby-Doo. Is that what happened?
Dude, I don't think people are going to be satisfied until their political enemies are found in photos, in potentially AI-generated photos with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell holding hands. That's the case. That's what's
They already
happening
did that
here.
with Trump.
They've
done a bunch of them.
I completely agree with you. That doesn't mean that there aren't people that are guilty of crimes, and those people should be brought to justice.
Totally.
So I agree that.
I agree. You don't think I agree with you there?
I'm just articulate.
Sure, these people should be charged and convicted if they're found to have done any wrongdoing. But again, it's this wild goose chase, and people will not be satisfied. And it's a distraction from the president's agenda. And I believe, full circle, that's why he believes it's a hoax. And you know what's really rich here? It's seeing Thomas Massie grandstand on this issue so aggressively. We have nothing to say, but, he goes on CNN to go trash the president. And I don't know, and say ICE is doing too much out there and not supporting the one big beautiful bill, among other things. That's what Thomas Massie wants to be focused on. Not all the illegal immigrants in our country, but on a wild goose chase for, whoever he doesn't like in these Epstein files.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, Thomas Massie can do whatever he wants. Generally, I think Thomas Massie's a very good congressman. So I understand that.
Is he a good congressman when he trashes the president on CNN with Manu Raju?
I understand that you don't like him and that you don't like that he that he counter signals Trump sometimes.
Yeah,
and
I think it's a textbook rhino move.
There are times. Well, he's not really a Republican. He's more of a libertarian.
Exactly, he's a
Republican. But the point being, like. Other than the Epstein stuff, I think that Thomas Massie is actually one of the more
and being weak on immigration.
With Donald Trump like 95% of the time or something like that. His voting
not
record,
when it matters.
His voting yeah. Well, I mean, I think they all matter. I think they all matter. But the point that I'm making is he votes with Donald Trump or along the lines of what Donald Trump wants, something like 95% of the time. So that the vitriol that you attack him with, I really think is unnecessary.
Yeah, I think on the bills that matter, he votes against, and that's why they're trying to get somebody to replace him in Congress.
I got to say, one of the bills in which he's voting against Trump's agenda would be releasing the Epstein files. I believe Thomas Massie was 100% correct in his efforts to get these files published and released. Yeah. So if the argument is Donald Trump does a lot of good things and we should support him all the time, even when he's trying to block the release of the Epstein files, my answer is going to be absolutely not. I'm going to be with Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna on this one. I think Ro Khanna, he's a good dude. We've had him on the show one time, and I've interviewed him, I think, twice on the morning show. He's a good dude, but I don't agree with him on for a lot of things. And I think there's a, I mean, look, he's the children of immigrants, so he has a much different view on these things, but he's a nice guy and he's willing to have a conversation. I respect it. And where he's right, he's been right. He's defended free speech. He's worked with Massie on getting these documents. When I called him out, because he proposed releasing the files with no protections, meaning it would have released all the child abuse material. I tweeted it. He immediately responded, came on the show, told me I was right, and he was going to make sure that any bill to get these files released would guarantee the protections. And I said, amazing. I'm glad. Because I thought it was a poison pill where he was like, we're going to get the Epstein files released, forcing Republicans to vote no, because they would have released victims' names and abuse materials. And then he worked with Massie. They got the job done. It is entirely Trump's fault, the DOJ's fault, the FBI's fault on the mishandling of the Epstein story. From the PR perspective and the release of the files, they have mishandled it. I am happy with the outcome so far. I'm not going to be this black pillar that's like, everything wrong, it's bad, they're all evil. I'm going to be like, hey, they're releasing these files and we're getting stuff. And some of it's bad for Trump, and I respect that. But I think they've done a bad job. But I will give them this. Overall, so far, it is a net positive. The files have been released, not all of them, but they are releasing the files. People are complaining it's not fast enough or whatever. Some names shouldn't have been redacted. That's fine. I'd be very angry if they were refusing to do it outright. But they are doing it. And I'm going to give them credit for that because that's not an easy thing to do. But I do think they've done a bad job on it.
This has been so annoying because Thomas Massie has been in touch with the victims of Jeffrey Epstein. And if he wanted to, he hypothetically could have released the names of the alleged perpetrators. He even now has access to the unredacted version. So it really begs the question, why haven't we seen the name of the alleged perpetrators?
You're saying why doesn't he release classified information?
He's allowed to, as I understand.
I don't
the
believe
unredacted version, as I understand. If he wanted to,
I do not believe that's correct.
What's stopping the girls, though, from naming the people?
I believe many of them didn't they?
No, I mean, there's just
Well, to be honest,
the couple that have been discredited. For example,
Exactly, I
Virginia
agree with that.
Giuffre.
I don't believe she was discredited. I believe she's been challenged, but I don't think anything's been proven.
No, I think she's been wholly discredited. But I feel like it's something.
No, she hasn't.
Pull up
I've read.
I think she withdrew many of her accusations. So she accused
and then she got hit by a bus, which she didn't actually get hit by. Said, "Please, I just need to see my kids," and then died 4 days later.
I think she was one of the most ridiculous. I need to look at. I need to pull. Hey, I need to pull up the specific details, but I think she had a long history of being an unreliable witness. And then they actually tried to bring the case forward and couldn't move forward with her in the case because she was so unreliable.
I don't know if that's true, but perhaps we'll have to fact check that one and break it down. Let's jump to this next story from Kalshi. This is actually crazy. There's a few things I want to address because I'm watching this prediction market stuff. Will Trump say Bad Bunny this month? Kalshi's got it at a 23% chance. Now, I don't actually care whether Trump does, but sitting across from me is White House correspondent Elaad Eliyahu. $297,639 wagered on whether or not Trump will say yes. Or, I'm sorry, Trump will say the phrase Bad Bunny, yes or no. If you pick that he will, and you wager $100, you will win $412. So if you put, okay, let's do $1,000 that he's going to say it, you will win $4,116. The reason why I find that absolutely crazy, in normal sports betting before the emergence of prediction markets, nothing I could do is going to change whether or not Sean Strickland wins a fight, UFC. So I can go on my show and say I'm rooting for him. I want him to win. He's a good dude. And I did bet on him, and they robbed him, and that was BS. Everybody knows that he won against, was it Duplessis? That fight, that was bunk. He should have won that one. I watched that. I was so pissed. Anyway, I digress. This Kalshi is prediction markets that millions of people can affect the outcomes on. So it's against the rules on Kalshi to insider trade, meaning if you have the ability to influence the outcome of one of these trades and you trade on it, it's against their rules. But there are people who are nailing these predictions on Polymarket as well. Like someone bet, was it 32 grand on when Maduro was going to be captured? And then he did, and they won something like $400,000.
I thought that person got arrested.
They did?
I don't know.
No, it's not illegal.
No?
This is not insider trading. This is not SEC regulated. This is not securities. So the crazy thing about this is, first, let me just preface this by saying, I am not going to wager on this. I am not buying any shares. I will not break Kalshi's rules. But Elaad, could you do me a favor? When you go to the White House, can you ask the president to clarify the name of the individual he criticized on Truth Social about the halftime show?
I mean, you are my boss.
My
we hold ourselves to a high journalistic standard here at Timcast, and it's all good fun and jokes and games that we're having now. But, you know, we would never insider trade on something like this, and we take our opportunities at the White House very seriously and thank the administration for the opportunities they give us there. I don't give enough of a shit about Bad Bunny to ask about it, unless it's in relation to ICE deporting illegal immigrants. Oh, that would be a good one. Yeah, but like he was saying once that he didn't want to have shows in the United States because he knows Hispanics show up and he didn't want ICE to hang out outside of his concerts.
This is the interesting circumstance in the Kalshi markets and how we're not. Listen, this is my point. I can't go on my show and be like, hey, Sean, make sure you throw a left hook. Like, it's not going to change the outcome. I can't do anything. It's kind of crazy that I'm looking at this with 300 grand on the line. I do believe there are several legitimate questions that need to be asked of Donald Trump about Bad Bunny. I'm not playing culture war BS. I think it's legitimate to ask Trump what specifically was he upset about with the halftime show. Just saying it was a bad halftime show leaves us all hanging. Do you have legitimate concerns or criticisms? He has made comments about ICE. Many conservatives are upset. He seems to be in favor of Puerto Rican independence, and he refers to America as the continent, not the country. There's a lot the president could address for the guy who performed at the Super Bowl. I think that's fair, and I think there's a lot of criticism. It is insane to me that the chance of this has dropped 13 points since this morning when I brought this up. People are still saying Trump won't say it, and they're buying heavily against it. And I'm pretty sure everybody in this room can make a phone call and get pretty dang close to making that happen. Like, the point is, Trevor Noah at the Grammys, he says, I'm Trevor Noah, potato. And if you had a bet on Polymarket that I was going to say potato at the Grammys, you just won a lot of money, Noah_22, implying it was him who did it, which I don't think he actually did. But it is a weird reality with these prediction markets that a lot of them are easily influenced by, look, there are, if like Carolyn Levitt, one of the mentions here, and pull this up, is, let's see what we have here. Things that could be mentioned. What will Bernie say during his interview? I don't know. What will McDonald say? What will Trump say this week? There's one from, what will Carolyn Levitt say? Mr. Beast, Adam Schiff, Pam Bondi. Let me see. What will Bernie say? Airbnb, Coinbase. Where's the Carolyn Levitt one? Let me pull that one up, because that's another one. There we go. What will Carolyn Levitt say in the next press briefing? This is where it gets, oh, wait, what? Oh, because she already had it. Okay, earlier today. So she has a lot of those, I guess. But earlier today, it paid massive. If she said stupid question, I think it was like $100, won like $5,000. If she said the phrase stupid question.
So I have a couple of different thoughts here, but I thought it was worth mentioning that the Coinbase CEO actually a few months ago on an earnings call, took note of this and then just dropped all of the words.
Did he really?
Yeah. Brian Armstrong, the CEO, at the end of the call, literally rattled off all the crypto words that were, being traded on. This was a story the other day. But I think this is actually a little bit self-defeating because I didn't know these were originally supposed to be betting markets. I thought these were supposed to be prediction markets.
What do you think that is?
So the rule, no, because here's the difference. Because then the rule is self-defeating. Because then if somebody does have insider knowledge, you want them to bet on it because that will make them a more effective prediction market. So if somebody may prompt the president on Bad Bunny, you'd want them trading on that because they could change the outcome of that.
So here's the other thing I want to bring up with the call sheet stuff. And full disclosure, and check the call sheet, they do sponsor us. So I'm actually a fan. You can see I've got a couple $100. I'm not, guys, I like playing poker. I don't play crazy money. It's wild to me when I see people gambling ridiculous money. Even Dana White betting $400,000 on Baccarat or whatever. I get it. When you're a billionaire, you're a billionaire. But I got $300 in there, and I think I wagered on the Seahawks to win. I won $50. I'm very happy with my choice there. Okay, this is not advice. I'm not recommending you do any of this stuff. This is free money. Who wants to read it?
Will the U.S. confirm that aliens exist before 2027?
And what's the percentage chance of it happening?
13% chance that they will?
Yeah, there is a 0% chance the U.S. government in any capacity will confirm the existence of aliens this year.
Because they don't exist.
So they might. I don't know.
Get a 13% return on that.
Exactly. So let's say I put $1,000 in. At the end of the year, I make $139. That's better than the market.
Way better.
13% guaranteed return, taking money. There's $1.7 million wagered on the U.S. whether or not they'll confirm the existence of aliens. It is 0%. Now, there are others like will Jesus return? And those have like a 3% yes. That's okay, but doesn't beat the market. You want to get around 7%. It is insane to me that this exists. And here's what I'm going to show you. So the maximum bet is $451,000. So let's do that. You will make $30,000. You will make $36,000 in 1 year. And all you have to do, and understand this is important. When you buy shares in Yes or No, you don't lose the money. You hold the shares. They can be sold at any time. So that means instead of having $500,000 in the bank, where it's just being crushed by inflation with terrible interest rates, I can just put it in here. And then at the end of the year, clear out $36,000. Getting some of the best. Now, to be fair, that's only an 8% margin because
it goes up as it's like stocks.
No, it's the more money you put in, you change the payouts because you're buying
you only have so many offers or bids.
Exactly.
So liquid.
So, really, you want to find that happy medium. Maybe 200,000 would pay you better. It's 12%, but that's $26,000.
I guess you're also taking on some risk of Kalshi making it that far into the future.
I don't see Kalshi going out of business in less than a year.
You never know, but that's the associated risk. But then,
Kalshi is printing money, dude.
Sure, but the DOJ could take them down for something stupid.
No, they're
approved. Trading something.
They're approved and regulated
until something goes wrong.
Okay, but yes, sure, a meteor can fall on their headquarters, right?
I don't think it would have to be that.
Bro, the Kalshi is regulated, approved. It's here. They won. I don't see a reality where at this point, with as mainstream and no one's upset about it. Democrats, Republicans aren't complaining about it. They're fine with it. It went through its regulatory process. It won. They're not going out of business. Sure, fine. But then you can make the argument that like you better not put your money in Bank of America because
I trust Chase Bank more than I trust Kalshi.
That's fair. That's fine. But still,
and it's FDI. Is this FDIC?
To be fair, your only risk factor then is the solvency of Kalshi. Fine. I still think I'm not recommending anybody actually do it, but it is still pretty crazy that you will clear $30,000-$40,000 because there are people stupid enough to put up money thinking the government is going to come out and admit aliens exist. Notice I said admit. Here, check this out. This is crazy. The leaderboards. Let's go to like the monthly leaderboard. This dude bets and sweats made $500,000 in a month.
A month
on Kalshi.
Wait, is that just for this month or is that for January?
I think it's for the last 30 days specifically.
Okay.
And if you go by the last year, here's a dude who did $600,000 in a year. But yo, the monthly is cooking. Here's the thing. Okay, I know everybody here, and again, I'm not advising anybody to do anything. But if you listen to this show, you are on the cutting edge, the bleeding edge of news, breaking news. Sometimes news breaks on this show when we pull up the tweets in real time saying this thing just happened. For most people, they are not that tuned in. Mm-hmm. And I've said this time and time again. If I actually traded stocks based on the news gathering job that I did, like if we hired a day trader and I just said, watch my videos and then make trades based on what I say, I'd probably be a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine for anybody in this room, for you, knowing what you know about what's going on, you could probably make $1 million.
Well, I think a lot of what I like about Kalshi is you're not betting against the sports book, right? The sports books have really my buddies and we all had this NFL betting strategy that worked really well, betting fourth quarter unders, but it's totally changed. But I think that this is much better because you're betting against other people. They have to buy and sell it. I also think that if you understand politics, you can make a ton of money off of these shutdown fights, right? I made a little bit of money off of the first government shutdown last year because it was obvious Democrats were not going to open up the government until after that November election. I think this is a great way to make money if you understand what you're doing.
Well, here's the other thing. And again, I'm going to stress this. Don't listen to me. Anything you do is your problem. There was a guy I watched on Instagram where he said he just goes onto Kalshi and he bets on the guarantees. So you can go to live, things that are active right now, and it's like, okay, find a guarantee, 84% for Illinois to win college basketball, and he's like, I'm going to bet on it. And he's just printing money. Just printing money.
They're only up 4. That's crazy.
Yeah. So there are certainly better bets and better odds. But even look at Houston to Utah, it's 8-4, but it's 94-6. That's brutal. But
I would go the 6% on that one though. You know what I mean?
That game just started. That one just started. But the other game was really weird odds.
That's a value bet right there.
The previous one was.
So the general idea is if you find a contract that will end soon, like 2028 Democrat nominees got 47 million wagered or contracted, I think is the right word. But you're not going to find that out for 2 years, or actually no, for what, a year and a half for the next Democratic nominee.
That's a crazy long time to tie up your money.
No, actually, that's going to be it's going to be 2 years. It's going to be like what, it's probably going to be what, early 28.
Early 28. Yeah,
it's kind of crazy how long they took for Harris.
It might go into the summer. It could be 2.5 years.
Dude, I need to start betting against Khomeini being out as supreme leader. I don't think we're invading. I don't think we're invading.
You think Khomeini will stay?
Change. Yeah.
I agree.
Until he dies.
So here's the thing. Based on everything we know, not only that, Elaad, like we know people at the DOD. And that's not insider information. No one's telling us, hey, Elaad, we're not going to do it. It's just that the general idea we've gotten from people on the show and the way things have been explained have led us to believe. I'm
more informed than the general public.
And the general public from watching this show are more informed, and the people who watch the show are more informed than the average member of the public. My point ultimately is, even outside of that, you take a look at, the aliens one's a really good example. 87%, and it's 1 year. It's a long time. If you go in, and I'm not telling you to do it, I'm saying here's the idea, and you just find any contract that's, look at this, it's 78 to 77 with 76 to 21, 4 seconds left at overtime. That's free money.
Yeah.
Like,
Free money.
are you? That's what I'm talking about. Can I literally just buy they're going to win right now? It just ended. You could have cleared a contract.
I will say you got to be careful about those type. They call those bridge jumpers because guys would lose all their money at the track and then put one big. Anything. Can happen,
I'm not telling
especially in
anybody to
sports.
do this.
No, I get it.
My point is just there are contracts that end in like a day, right? And who will Trump nominate as Fed chair? Do we know when that's supposed to happen?
I think it's. I'm not sure when.
It's got to be soon.
I'm not sure, but
96% it's going to be Kevin Warsh.
I've heard it's already going to be Kevin Warsh.
Agreed. So if you bought yes, and you're like, okay, I'll put in it's $157 million wagered on this. So that means you could look at this. Put in $1 million, you'll get 20 grand for free.
It's really unsettling too, because like people really can affect the change. What if something happened to this guy? Right? It's crazy odds like this.
So I would not recommend any putting $1 million or whatever. But again, even if you wanted $3 for free, the point is I'm watching these Instagram videos where these dudes do this. They're like, I'm going to go and find something that's 95% guaranteed and it's free money because it's not even really 95%. It's not like casino odds. Casino odds, there actually is a 4% chance of losing. This is actually 100%, but there are people value betting the opposite just to see.
Imagine you're a journalist sitting on a scoop on Warsh, just like with odds like this. It's just
No. You're sitting on a scoop on Ryder.
Yeah.
You're sitting there knowing full well it's gonna be Ryder, and then you're like, oh man, dude, I'm gonna look $100 nets you 10 grand.
Being able to bet on so many of these different things really starts messing up people's incentive structures, though, and can lead to really gay stuff.
Is there a market for finding Savannah Guthrie's mother?
That's just morbid.
But they have morbid stuff.
What's
I don't
the
think
over
so.
under on deportees?
Here's the thing. I'm gonna say this. Polymarket maybe.
Polymarket.
I'm not trying to be a dick to Polymarket nor be derisive in any way to Kalshi. Polymarket kind of has the what's the right way to describe it? Let's just call it the wilder bets. That's kind of an offensive wager. Are we going to find her mom? Kalshi is a little bit more above board. Like Polymarket comes off to me like a dude in like a hoodie, and he's like hanging out, leaning up against a brick wall, being like, "Hey, you want to make a bet?" And Kalshi is more like the casino guy in the vest, being like, "Place your chips." So I don't mean that in any way to be derisive to either company, but when you look for the weird bets, Kalshi's pretty much very straightforward.
You're not going to find it.
Yeah, although I don't. I kind of think that's a brutal.
So maybe to be derisive to these companies, I think they are contributing to the degeneracy of our society. Like I thought it was bad when sports gambling became ubiquitous, and now we have Kalshi and Polymarket, even advertising with people like CNN. So even in the legacy,
yeah.
media
You think
and
it's
us,
worse?
Yeah. Polymarket has it.
Oh God, these
do.
or Klarna.
what's
Oh, Klarna's way worse. Yeah. No. See, I got to push back.
For your burrito.
I got to push back. I don't agree with the idea that because sometimes people do bad things in excess, we should ban the thing entirely.
Sure.
I have no problem with Polymarket or Kalshi. I think they're great. Like I said, I've got an account on Kalshi. They sponsor the show, and if I think it's fun to make predictions, add a little spice to your sporting event. Look, I bet
Is there a limiting principle on that?
I have no problem with people drinking beer. I have a problem with alcoholism. And I don't think people should go to prison for having alcoholism. They should get some kind of help. We want to help each other. I got no problem with gambling or prediction markets. I have a problem with gambling addictions, and we should get these people help.
A majority of these industry are built off of the backs of these loser addicted males.
It's not true.
Yeah, of course it's true.
Completely false.
What part of it?
There is certainly a problem emerging where we have way too many casinos and mobile apps where there are a lot of people now that are gambling that didn't before. But the bulk of people who gamble are not addicts who are losing their life savings. That's actually exceedingly rare. Most people, and you can, listen, bro, I spend way too much time playing poker. I know about how these things work. It's extremely easy to get status at a lot of casinos because people don't go to casinos that often. So, for example, I think like the Hard Rock which is they're all over the place. There's not that many relative to other, like Penn Play. Penn Entertainment is the second biggest casino chain in the country. It's wild. But to get status, like the highest tier, you have to spend over a year $15,000 at the casino. Now, don't get me wrong, that's a lot of money. But that's the highest, that's their highest member tier outside of their invited tier, which is where you get millionaires and billionaires and stuff. If you want to get general status, the card's free, so we don't count that. But the second tier, it's like go there for 3 weekends and you're upgraded and getting free food and comps. And that's really easy to do because people actually don't go that often.
I think I should be a little bit more concise. Most of the revenue generated by these gambling companies
It's not coming from addicts.
It's coming from, no. As far as the sports betting apps go, definitely. I've read research into it.
That's incorrect.
As far as I understand.
Bro, listen.
Just to make a further point about that, as I understand that is to be the case, but I also think we're dealing in a time of economic stagnation, and young men are already struggling with so many different things. Young men are struggling with drugs. Young men are struggling with women. Young men are struggling to find jobs.
And
now we're throwing more of these
a cultural problem,
and this is contributing to the cultural problem. But to add on that, now you have a shitty job that you go back home to, and you think, oh man, I barely have any extra money around. Hey, maybe I go bet on Polymarket. Maybe I go bet on Kalshi. Maybe I go bet on the sports game that I think I know better on. And then these young men continue to go further and further into debt. They predominantly
we get it. You're gish galloping.
Poor men.
We get that you're gish galloping.
I'm not finished.
If you'd like to make a single point that can be addressed instead of saying 50 things that are wrong.
My point is this hurts young men.
Okay, so let me explain to you why you are wrong. Because the majority of money generated is by single-use small bets. People who make sports bets, they're like fantasy leagues and things like that where someone puts $20 down. It would be impossible for a casino to exist if they drained the bank accounts of everybody who showed up and they were all homeless after the fact. Alcohol, the booze industry is not supported because everyone's addicted to alcohol. It's because people sometimes have some drinks.
It's supported by the alcoholics. The alcohol industry is supported by the alcoholics, not the people who occasionally drink.
If you removed all alcoholics from the market, you would not put a dent in their sales.
You're totally wrong. You'd probably remove 80% of the alcohol sales.
Absolutely
no, totally.
not.
If you remove the alcoholics from
dead.
Alcohol sales,
there's not that many alcoholics, bro.
Most of the people drinking most of the alcohol are the alcoholics. It's like a 1%er issue. 1% of the people drinking the alcoholics are consuming like 80% of the alcohol.
You do understand how ridiculous that is considering how much alcohol is sold every day.
No, I'm totally spot on this.
So
the people who are alcoholics are having like 100 drinks, hundreds of drinks a month.
That many of them.
But they're drinking most of the alcohol.
No, they're not.
Yes, they are.
So I spend a lot of time playing poker. Poker rooms are very different from casino floors. Always different people. There's a handful of regulars at a lot of these places, and this is why, Elaad, casinos have venues, because most of the people who show up come for a show and then never come back. That's why casinos have venues. That's why Stake, is Stake Kick, I think?
Stake is the gambling. I think Kick is streaming.
And Kick is the venue to attract people to come to their online casino. Casinos don't have regulars who pay their bills, so they have to bring in at a loss shows. There are people who go to Charlestown and they'll sell 1,000 tickets and they'll get paid $30,000. And I'm like, whoa, now come on there a minute. That people who shut up aren't spending that much for some of these tickets.
Yep.
For them to pay the artist, pay the staff, the booking, the space. The casinos book these things at a loss because bringing in 1,000 people to a venue means they're going to spend $50 on drinks, maybe $100 on slots, and then leave. I have absolutely no problem with people having fun. The idea that the problem we're facing is, I do agree that the ubiquity and access to something does create the ease of access to it makes it. Well, I guess the simple way to put it is, the more casinos there are, the easier for addicts and degenerates to get caught up in it. Agreed. But the problem we have in this country is cultural, and we have parents who are not raising their kids well. We have economic systems which have incentivized mothers to get jobs instead of raising their kids. So the kids go to schools where they're indoctrinated by leftist teachers. This is creating cultural issues that did not exist before. It is resulting in the expansion of degeneracy. The availability of marijuana is not the problem. The availability of alcohol is not the problem. The availability of gambling is not the problem. And I'll put it like this. First, I will say, Don't anyone dare come to me and say that we should ban all these things. I had all the access in the world as a teenager to drinking, to smoking, to, playing street craps, whatever you want to do with the gangbangers. I also had good parents, so I never did any of those things. As a teenager, I tried pot once. I didn't really like it. When I was late, like 19 to 20, I drank on the weekends quite a bit with my friends. And then after about 2 years, I was like, this sucks. I don't want to drink anymore. I don't really enjoy it. I don't need this. Some people just get drunk and they don't stop. But when you have good parents and they raise you right and they teach you right, you don't experience this to this extreme degree. There can be a casino in every single street corner, and a devout, faithful, moralistic country would run them out of business. They could not exist. Now, what we have is there are a lot of people that are okay with gambling now, and so New York and Chicago are opening big casinos. And I have no problem with a city having a casino. I do think there is an issue that I talk about all the time. Within 2 hours of us, I think there's like 10 casinos. Like, that's wild. But again, a guy who gets off of work on a Friday and he worked 40 hours, his hands are calloused, and he says, I just want to watch the game with my friends. I want to put $20 down, get a little excitement from the game with a smile on my face and make jokes. And if I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. That's the average person. Sometimes people are addicted, and that is a problem. But I don't think it makes sense to ban something simply because some people abuse it.
So as far as access goes, do you have any issue with people having, in any state being able to access any of these sports betting apps or a casino, online casino on their phone?
I have no problem whatsoever with people being able to access the mobile apps, but I do understand an ease of access will increase per capita the amount of people who will be addicted or see those problems. Because a state that never, like Texas has no gambling, right? They only have private gambling like poker rooms. So there are people who just can't do it.
It's like, does supply drive demand or does the demand drive supply? And does this help make it become a part of the culture?
Neither.
I think
we're talking about a cultural phenomenon.
No, but the supply of the ability to, like these casinos and these different apps to gamble on, I think this helps push the demand for more of it.
I think it is the amount of.
But I agree with you that, like, culturally, and if you were raised right, and if you're a good, religious, sane, sober, moral person, then yeah, you probably wouldn't gamble, and that's a good thing, and we should encourage that.
When you
go
that's
to mostly not what's
most
happening.
Casinos, if you're going to find a regular, they're in the poker room, and that's because you can sit in a poker room for 12 hours and not spend any money at all, and so a lot of these guys are just hanging out. You do get, everybody calls each other degenerates and things like that, but typically if you're in a place and you see someone it's a poker player. Some casinos have, no one's regularly playing craps for the most part. That's exceedingly rare. People who go to casinos go one time every few months and they bet a few $100 and they leave. That's the average person. That's where they're making their money. This is why casinos have hotels. This is why they have venues. This is why they do promotions. And this is why they send you emails incessantly. Because if it were true that most of the money they made was from degenerates who just lose all their money, they wouldn't advertise at all. They would just have people coming and dumping their paychecks.
I think we need to do negative PR against things like online gambling. I think we need to start calling it.
I think that's a
goy
cop-out.
games. Goy games. You don't want to go play those goy games, Phil. Serge, you don't want to go to those goy game casinos. No. Where all those Jews are stealing your money at the casinos. Do you really want to go to play those goy games in those Jewish casinos where they're stealing all your money? Do you guys really want to log on to those?
We get it, Elaad. The problem that I see with your logic is that this is what has led conservatives to failure over the past 20 or 30 years. Instead of addressing the issue of what children were being given, they said, just take the thing away as adults. And that didn't work. Marijuana is legal because the country accepted it, even though many conservatives don't like it. Yep. Because instead of going to kids and strengthening their familial values, they had DARE programs, which actually made everything worse. Bro, when I was in public school as a kid, and the cop comes in and he goes, I'm going to teach you about drugs. And then he showed all the kids the drugs. You know what the kids did? I'm going to get me some of that.
They made it cool. They made it alluring.
They made it punk rock. They made it edgy. They made it anti-authoritarian. And guess what? I never did any of that stuff. I have never done a hard drug in my life. The most I've ever done is I smoked pot one time with my buddies when I was 16. I think I was 15 or 16 in his backyard. And they're like, Tim, try the pot. And I was like, sure, why not? I'm like, that sucked. And I don't like it. I never smoked it. I never tried again.
Maybe sometimes I wish we were a Christian nation, because a Christian nation would definitely outlaw gambling.
You don't need to outlaw it.
I can tell you one easy way I think that everyone could get behind that a lot of people aren't talking about to fix the gambling situation, especially sports betting. So I discovered this with our group of friends. I mentioned this earlier. We had a whole strategy. It wasn't even gambling. It was investing. We've all been throttled or kicked off of several books. I'm throttled off of DraftKings. I'm banned off of Bet365.
What? Why?
You're not allowed to be an
Because
advantage player.
You're not allowed to win on these sports books. If you start winning, they say, okay, that bet's too big. The most you can bet is $5.14. So I think they're obviously kicking players like us off that are good and are actually doing what you can do now in Kalshi. I think if you eliminated that and say basically, hey, is this not deceptive advertising? Is this not false? Like, you're advertising that everyone can be a winner. Not everyone can be a winner because you kick them off when they win. I love I love Kalshi, but
they're basically just saying you're buying and trading contracts amongst each other. Again, the issue is, I'm a fan of this, and as you can see, I have $313.96 in my account. That's a lot for me, and I it's for fun. I put $100 on the Seahawks to win, and I won $50 or something. And I was like, yeah, let's go. And if I lost the $50, I'd be like, I lost $50. You know what I mean? Like, hey, it's just for fun. It's just to be like, oh boy, I hope I win. You know, there's nothing wrong with having a beer. There's nothing wrong with getting drunk. There's something wrong with getting drunk and crashing your car and killing somebody. Yep. There's something wrong with getting drunk every single day, nonstop, no matter what, and then dying of liver cirrhosis.
So the stat that I was misquoting earlier was, this is from the Smithsonian, says the top 10% of American drinkers consume nearly 60% of all the alcohol sold, averaging roughly 74 drinks per week. So it wasn't as exaggerated as I stated earlier, but still makes up, the top 10% makes over a majority.
So say that one more time.
The top 10% of American drinkers consume nearly 60% of all alcohol sold.
That doesn't mean those are alcoholics.
Okay.
So are we talking about somebody who has like 2 glasses of wine every day?
Averaging 74 drinks per week. Actually, that is an alcoholic.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah,
Okay.
74 per week. That's a lot.
That's an alcoholic for sure, actually.
That's 10 drinks a day.
Yeah. And I mean, I know people who... I know alcoholics. I don't know if it might be 10 drinks a day. I wouldn't know because they hide it. And we all know alcoholics, actually.
Indeed.
And
10 drinks a day as an alcoholic.
That's absolutely
It's an alcoholic, but 10 drinks a day if you're drinking every day, 10 drinks a day is
not a lot.
It's not a lot.
Well, alcoholics could power through a ton of alcohol because they build up
when I used to drink all the time, I would drink well over 10 drinks a day.
Oh, I have a very sensitive stomach.
I don't know how that's possible. First of all, alcohol tastes terrible.
Well,
Miserably disgusting.
When you're drinking over 10 drinks a day, you're not drinking for the taste of alcohol.
See,
anymore.
I go to the restaurant and I say I want a mocktail.
That is so lame. Just get a soft drink. What are you getting a mocktail
Wait,
for?
dude, are you kidding, bro?
Well, let me get a little lemon with an extra little mix with the
Brother,
margarita mix inside.
Let me teach you something about class. Okay? I was hanging out
Class, I'm getting trashed.
during the
Class.
Super Bowl, right before the Super Bowl started. I went to the steakhouse at MGM, the Voltaggio brothers. It's excellent. And they have something called Chai Something New, where it's chai spice with a dried orange juice, sparkling water, and there's some other stuff in it. And it's delicious. And it looks beautiful. But I don't need alcohol. You could put some rum in it, but why? Just ruins it. I don't need to get drunk, and it tastes terrible. Now, don't get me wrong. Splash some rum on some bananas and fry them up in a pan with sugar and a little cream, and now we're talking. But that burns the alcohol off.
I just want to say that earlier I brought up Savannah Guthrie's finding her mother. I think it was distasteful. So I am going to pledge tonight to not have a single sip of alcohol until they find her.
I got to be honest. I don't get alcohol.
I do. I'm not gonna have a single sip though.
Wow.
I don't understand alcohol at all. It's disgusting.
Oh, that's so un-American of you to say. Us
It's
Americans, we love alcohol. I feel like that's our pastime. Drinking beers.
Yeah, I mean humans. They say that humans stopped being nomadic to make beer.
Yeah,
And then beer was safer to drink than water because the alcohol in the process killed a lot of the bacteria and stuff.
And I feel like, I don't know about other religions, but in Judaism, we bless the wine, and it's like a big part of what we do. And
Christianity certainly drinks wine, and I believe the Bible and the Torah say spirituous beverages are perfectly acceptable.
Actually, I think the Muslims don't drink wine, too.
They do not.
That's their
Yeah, they're no alcohol.
un-American.
I respect that.
Haram.
All right, well, good for you.
Again,
Asians, too. It's on
I got.
for you.
Here's the thing. I think alcohol's nasty.
Asian blush.
I do not drink. I had a glass of wine a week or so ago because
You get Asian flush or whatever they call it.
sometimes from the phosphates. Yeah, but again, I'm only a quarter Asian. But I largely just think it's gross. It does not taste good. And I don't find a reason to drink it. Give me water.
I feel like it helps people
Maybe an Arnold
socialize.
Palmer.
That's what drinking is done to do. When most people drink, they're drinking to socialize, and it actually really helps them loosen up. I know a lot of people who are very uptight, but drinking allows them to probably talk to people or talk to women that they wouldn't ordinarily. That's not to say go
That's
get trashed and
crazy
go
to
out.
me.
One of
That's
the-
extremely
one of the-
common. That's
I know. And my advice to people is grow a pair.
oh yeah.
Well, it's not. I mean, I guess that does make sense. But like, alcohol lowers your inhibition. That's why men tend to get into fights more when they're drunk. Because normally, if you're not drunk or whatever, someone does something and you're just like, it annoys you, but you just brush it off.
Oh, hey.
But the inhibition is lowered, and so you're just like, oh well, I'm gonna go hit that guy or whatever.
Will Nancy Mace resign before the midterms? Yes, 22. No, 84. So if I put no, and then so this is going to clear
Running for governor, right?
for
The
November.
volume's $2,000.
It's only $2,000. That means you can barely wager anything. What's the max wager? Oh, okay, you can wager
one
1,000.
cares.
I want $100. No, but it's like,
That's why.
can we just hit up one of our staffers and learn what the answer is?
Probably.
Anyway,
left.
before we go to the chats, my main point is I'm fairly libertarian on a lot of issues. I think the way to describe it is if this nation, if every person in this country was as devout as Seamus Coughlin, you would need no police.
True.
Damn, I
mean
miss
that-
that Irishman.
I mean this literally and with great reverence to my good friend Seamus. He is a good man. He is an honest and honorable man. And he is a God-fearing man. And if everybody believed in what he believed, there would be no need for police. There'd be, you wouldn't need homeless shelters. You'd have utopia.
We need no government if then.
You would need no government because there is a structure of faith, honor, and integrity that exists in his worldview. And I mean that sincerely. That being said, we don't have people who are like this. And it seems like typically we get policy proposals from these neocons. Now I'm just picking on neocons. But the policy proposal of you are a 30-year-old degenerate. You want to be a degenerate. You were raised to be degenerate. We're going to make it a crime to be degenerate. You know what they're going to do? They're going to find a back alley. What we need to do is find the root cause. And our society should be, guess what? Seamus, I've played blackjack with him. And there's
Tell that to
no
his priest.
problem. There's no problem. We joke around. We go. We went to the casino. We played a couple $100. He spiked the table. Everybody lost. If you guys know blackjack, we animated it. It was a funny story. Everybody had like 13, 14, 13, and the dealer was showing a 6. I think it was a 6, and we told Seamus, don't hit, and because it was like the dealer's got a bus card, and he goes, I'm gonna hit. And then we're like, no, and he hits. And then I think he hit a 6. And we were like, oh, thank God. Or actually, no, we were like, oh, wow, like good for you, Seamus. We weren't like, thank God. The dealer, I think, flipped over a 3, and the next card was a jack. So he hit 19. Seamus pushed. Everyone else lost. If Seamus did not hit, he would have flipped over a 3 for 9, hit the 6 to 15, hit the jack for 25, and everyone would have won. And so we animated that. And he's never lived it down in 6 years. It's been 5 years.
Shame on him.
But my point is this: there's no problem with Seamus coming and playing blackjack with us. The issue is gambling addiction is an issue of the addicted, and our culture has problems. A casino is great to hang out with your friends, have drinks, play some games, be responsible, don't go crazy. But if we have a culture that is teaching kids bad things, and we do, then you are going to get gambling addiction, alcoholism, drug abuse. I don't think, I certainly agree with banning some drugs. I think like fentanyl is a big problem. It needs heavy regulation because they can lace it and you could just die right away. So I think regulation is the best approach to dealing with these things. And if you develop a culture where people are doing these things, then your culture needs to change. But we're going to go to your Rumble rants and Super Chats, my friends. So smash the like button. Share the show with everyone in your life. Head over to castbrew.com. Pick up your Dr. Alex Stein's Big Booty Latina Love Potion. Alex Stein is not a doctor. And we're going to grab your Rumble rants and chats right now. Let's see. We got Joey Giggles says, is Trump actually vindicated? If so, arrest everyone else so they can win the midterms. even though it's all fake and gay and retarded, and we're all going to be slaves to the machine. Well, the good news is when you're a slave to the machine, at least your brain will be plugged into it.
Yep.
And you will get to experience whatever stupid matrix reality you want. For conservatives, it's a nightmare. For liberals, it's a dream come true.
They're all going to be in Star Wars and Jedis and stuff.
That's you saw that video, right? You sent it to me?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, where is that? Can I play that for?
Yeah, what is this? I don't.
You need to see it. Where was it? You sent it to me in Slack?
I think it was in Slack.
Let me see if it. No, I think you sent it to me somewhere else. I did a video about it. It was a text?
Maybe. I don't know.
I think you sent it to me.
It was either Slack or a text. Or maybe I didn't send it.
You did send it to me. You posted it. I think you might have tagged me or something.
Oh, okay. That could have been it.
Man. So I made a pitch where I said to conservatives, would you be willing to give up 80% of your income, 80% income tax on all money you make, and that money goes towards funding pods that liberals can live in, where we pump roach protein to their bellies to sustain them, and we plug their brains into the matrix where they can live in any universe they want and no longer be a part of society. And everyone in the chat said, yes, I would accept that wager. 80% income tax.
Whining at an all-time low.
Yeah, it would just be like, and so somebody made an AI video of like this nice family cooking pie and they're all happy. And then it shows the liberals in Harry Potter universe casting spells being like, can you believe these MAGA chuds are paying for this? and the MAGA people are like, can you believe we have to live without liberals? Yeah, so.
Heaven.
Yep. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh.
What utopia? Omega Rosetsu says, what is the difference between communists and fascism? Time, looking at the CCP, they act like Nazis. Both are socialism. Emotional socialism is communism. Logical socialism is fascism. I'm going to stop you there, buddy. Fascism is authoritarian traditionalism, and communism is authoritarian progressivism. The Chinese Communist Party are progressives. They want to eliminate their history. They want to rewrite their traditions and purge the old ways. They're authoritarians. The fascists wanted to preserve the old ways. They wanted to man and women, marriage, all that good stuff, and social order with authoritarianism. And the Nazis.
Did you develop that thought? Or I've never heard
that's-
anyone describe that.
that's what it
that
is.
way.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is.
But if you go to the dictionary, that's not what it's going to say. Did you?
No, that's academically the difference between the two feuding factions. Like the fascists. So first of all, the Nazis and the fascists are different.
Yep.
And liberals don't understand this.
Yes.
The fascists were in Italy and the Nazis were in Germany. The communists were all over the place. But when you look at all the communist countries, there are two large components to their ideology. Outside of the economic functions of it, because the Nazis were not capitalists, they were not really socialists either, but they were state enforced socialists in a sense. Well, as how do you describe it? They were a cultural enforced socialists. Sorry, not state. Communism is a state enforcement. Nazis were cultural enforcement. So the way the Nazis operated was you weren't forced by mandate to produce for the war effort, but you'd be canceled if you didn't. So, a Nazi officer would be like, what do you mean your factory's not producing steel for the war effort? Don't you want to win? You're supposed. Oh, no, we're going to do it. We're going to do it because you're scared of the authoritarians. But the Nazis were famously burning books on gender identity and being gay. They were very much like traditionalism. The communists, on the other hand, were promoting all of that stuff. Nazis, fascists, and communists are all authoritarian systems where there's an absolute control of the group. Their economic systems vary only somewhat slightly. The fascists were described as being a lucrative merger of corporation and state. This is effectively communism. The corporations worked towards the whims of the state de facto. The Nazis, it was culturally enforced, where the famous quote, this is from an academic paper that I read about the issue, was that an officer would go to a factory and say, why aren't you producing steel for the war effort? And the pressure was social, not government mandate. Communists, on the other hand, just came by force, and it was largely social as well, but it was basically a part of their ethos. Like, we want to take your private property. If you look at every communist country, one of the things they do is they purge all of their history and all their traditions, and that's a key component of it. So, yeah. All right, let's see. Mythos says Voyager was the worst pre-2015 Star Trek. Voyager is a masterpiece compared to modern Star Trek.
I didn't even want to watch the modern Star Trek.
Guys,
it's just going to be such a bummer.
There's an episode of Star Trek Voyager, very famous, where the captain and one of the shipmates, They travel so fast through space. Okay, so here's the premise of Voyager. Do you know Voyager?
No. Which season should I start off with, by the way? I'm going to get my wife into this.
Well, you should start with Star Trek The Next Generation Season 1. The original series is okay, but
All right.
we call it TOS. TNG is a masterpiece, and Deep Space Nine really, really hits out of the park because it tests the limits of this liberal ideology. I love it. Voyager is silly, but it's okay. So Voyager was ended last. I think Voyager ended like 2003, and DS9 was like 2001. Voyager is about a Federation ship that gets flung on the other side of the galaxy. And it's going to take them 70 years at maximum warp to make it home. And so it's funny. The ship is called the Voyager, and they're on a voyage. Ooh. But the show's fine. It's interesting because it gives you a Federation crew outside of the Federation exploring wild and new things that you're not going to see in the traditional canon. But there's an episode where they're like, we're going to do an experimental thing to go as fast as possible. And they go so fast that Captain Janeway and Tom Paris de-evolve into lizards, have sex, she lays eggs, and then they reverse the de-evolution and they re-evolve into humans and had babies. That's one of the reasons people are like, that show really went in a weird direction. But it was okay. And the most disappointing thing is that DS9 concluded with very, very profound philosophical implications for the ideologies that Americans believed in of this liberal society and its natural conclusions. That is, I think the episode's called in the Pale Moonlight, famous episode where they false flag assassinate a senator to trick them into joining a war on the Federation side. And what needed to happen is if they were going to bring back Star Trek, we needed to have the next arc. So the original series happens. The Next Generation says, here's what happens after that. And things have changed. And it was brilliant writing. Then Deep Space Nine is within the same time period because the Next Generation is like, I think it might be 100 years later. Deep Space Nine is literally within the same time frame. And Voyager is as well. They could have done a small time jump again and said, here's where we ended up after the Dominion War. Instead, they went, let's do a prequel. I'm not watching it. Enterprise was bad. I'm sorry. It's okay, but they opened it with some pop culture stuff. They didn't call it Star Trek. Nobody knew it was Star Trek. Nobody wanted to watch it. And then there was this big gap where they did nothing. They did the reboot movies where they created an alternate timeline, which was largely cringe. It's fine. They're fine movies. And then they did Discovery, which was prequel again, bored. Then now they're doing Starfleet Academy, and there's Lower Decks, all garbage. All absolute trash. The spiritual successor to Star Trek is The Orville by Seth MacFarlane. That is a fantastic show. On The Orville, they did an episode where there's what I loved about Star Trek The Next Generation is that it was addressing the philosophical consequences of technological advancement or different trees that could have occurred with on Earth. Basically, they go to a planet where what's a good start to the next? In TNG, they go to a planet where everybody is catered to by an AI. There is a machine that was built by their ancestors that provides for them. They have no idea how it works. They just do whatever they're told. So it's an interesting concept of what would a society be like. And so that's things you get with like The Next Generation. The Orville did an episode where there's an alien race. They're called the Mocklins, and they're all male, and they lay eggs. And so I guess it's still technically sexual reproduction because two males will reproduce and one of them will lay the egg or something. However, as it turns out, they actually do have females, but surgically transgender them as children to make them male. They find out that one of the guys, his male partner, actually was born female, but got sex change surgery. And they have an argument where Seth MacFarlane says you can't sex change kids. It's brilliant. And it wasn't so conservative overt, but the point was made that children can't consent. And it was kind of like a rib because when the show came out, we were like, you kind of know what he's saying. They had one episode where, and Christians won't like this one as much, they land on a planet and they use technology to heal a girl's wound. Kelly does. She's the commander. And when they leave, the planet blinks out of space-time and then reappears. For this planet, every time it pulses out of existence, it exists for 500 years in another dimension before returning. When they go back to the planet, they find that because she healed this, cave woman, they developed a whole religion around her divine healing touch and come to worship her. And it's very Catholic coded. And they're making a point about cargo cults and the spirit, again, simple point. Seth MacFarlane was a huge Trek fan and understood what made it good and tried to recreate it to the best of his abilities. And they did 3 seasons. I would welcome any day of the week them to bring back the Orville because that's unfortunately as close as we're going to get. Anyway, I could talk about Star Trek for 27 years because it's the greatest show of all time. The Next Generation is the greatest thing boomers ever did for this country. All right, let's grab some more while we're still here. Anybody want to talk about Star Trek again? I'm kidding. YouTube's giving me the business.
And look, I'll talk about Deep Space
All right.
Nine all you want.
Deep Space Nine, man.
So good.
And I love these liberals are like, did you know that, not liberals, but like commies, they're like, Star Trek was a communist country. They didn't have money anymore. And I'm like, Latinum. Stop it. Latinum and Federation credits, you idiots, you're making things up. You know nothing about Star Trek. Spare me. Ben Brady, it was a post-scarcity liberal society, and Deep Space Nine challenged this liberal ethos of being non-militaristic, and oh my dude. So there's an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation, right? Where all of a sudden there's like a shift and the ship is different now. And Guinan, who's played by Whoopi Goldberg, and she did a great job, is she's an alien race and she has a deeper connection and blah, 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 whatever. But she notices something changed. What happened was the timeline shifted because a rip opened up during the attack on Kittimer. You don't need to know anything about this. I'll just give you a quick version. There was an episode of TNG where Star Trek, the vessel is an exploration vessel to boldly go where no one's gone before. They're on a science mission. They have military capabilities, but it's a science mission. In one of the episodes, the timeline shifts where the Federation never had an alliance with the Klingons and are losing the war. And the ship changes to a battleship. And Guinan's like, what's going on? Where are the families and children? And Picard's like, are you joking? This is a warship. There's no children and families on this vessel. And very much so, I loved how some smart people made that show and asked the questions of what our society could or would be like. And then Deep Space Nine brought that to its conclusion. Children should watch that show. I'm going to make sure my daughter watches every episode 5 times with me. I'm going to watch it again, too. It got some stupid episodes, but it's a good show. Anyway. All right, let's see what we got. Woke. What does it say? Woke evil? Woke is evil. I was like, what are you trying to say? Woke Hellsville? I highly recommend that you in the chat watch the YouTube doc about the movie Eyes Wide Shut. It blew the lid on the globalist Satanist PDF file cult back in 99, and the director Stanley was killed for it. What? I heard about that movie. You guys ever seen it?
No.
Eyes Wide Shut. Chief Corey Anderson says, is it Mr. Bokus? It is Mr. Bokus in an Epstein suit. What is that?
What?
I don't know what you're referring to. Sorry. Simple Gunsmith says, Ghislaine Maxwell pleaded the fifth in front of Congress on every question. Seems she knows much more, but also knows the end is nigh. Indeed. I agree with that assessment.
She doesn't want to incriminate herself, so.
Adam Bauer says, when are we going to talk about how manufacturing in the U.S. is still in decline? I know it's still early in Trump's administration, but I'm not seeing any signs of improvement. There's no people. The economy is going to implode. There is no answer to it. Immigration won't change this. There are no people. An economy cannot grow without new workers. So the Democrats told everybody to stop having kids over 40, 50 years, then said, oh no, open the borders to bring in more workers. Now Trump is saying, stop. What's going to happen is, well, no society's ever recovered from this. I don't know what's going to happen. What I can say is Gen Alpha, as I often bring up, is, Gen Alpha is only 42 million. Gen Z is 78, I believe. Millennials are 80. And Gen Alpha is only 42. So it's about half the size of Gen Z and Millennial. This means that right now, as Gen Alpha, they're 50. I believe they're 15 years old. They're about to be entering entry-level workforce at 16 and university matriculation. But there's half. This means universities are all going to go to business. There's a principle I've stated before that people need to hear once more. If you have a town of 100 people and there is one shoe store, that shoe store is providing shoes for all 100 people. One day they discover gold. The town booms. There's 200 people, but still only one shoe store. He can't accommodate everybody. So what happens? A new shoe store opens up, and now there are 2 shoe stores, each accommodating 100 people. Eventually, all of the gold is mined. People begin to slowly leave the town. What happens is you have 2 shoe stores now, both seeing a decline. They were operating on thin margins already. And now instead of one closing down and 100 people leaving, 100 people leave, and now there are 2 stores competing for only 100 people. If they need to service at least 90 people to stay in business, they need to steal 40 people from the other store. But guess what? Neither of them wants to go out of business, so they both take out loans. They both accrue debt. They both struggle to survive. They both go out of business at the exact same time, and now your town of 100 people has 0 shoe stores. That's what happens in economies when populations collapse. That is going to happen in every single sector in the next few years.
It's actually making the housing crisis more difficult to solve because by 2037, I think it's 1 out of every 4 homes is going to be basically vacant because of all the seniors that are going to be dying. All the boomers are going to be.
And the houses will be worthless.
Yes.
Because there's going to be too many and no one will have the money to buy them in the first place. So when the boomers die and the millennials and Gen Xers, but largely millennials inherit it because Gen Xers were partly silent generation, inherit these homes, they're not going to be able to sell them because nobody has the money or the equity to take out a loan. So right now, boomers buy houses from boomers off of loans based on the value of the home from boomers. When they die, millennials get the house. It's worth $1 million. Who's going to buy $1 million house? Nobody. So they're going to say sell it for 9. Nobody. 8. Nope. 7. Nope. 6. Nope. 5. 4? Oh, 4. And the housing market's going to go. Then you add in the fact that there's no Gen Alpha. So 40-year-old millennials will be like, finally, I can afford a house. Then Gen Alpha is not going to be buying houses. And so millennials will have 0 equity in their homes, and they'll all be underwater. They will get a $400,000 loan for that house that used to be $1 million, be very excited for it. And then the house value will drop to $200,000 because Gen Alpha won't be buying. They will be, but there will be no homes. And so they're going to say, I couldn't sell this home if I wanted to, but I owe $400,000 on it. Welcome to being underwater. Ain't going to be pretty. My friends, we're going to go to the uncensored portion of the show, so smash the like button, share the show. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. It's going to be at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. So we hope to see you there. Good, sir. Do you want to shout anything out?
Fatherswanted.org. Check it out. It's a great documentary, and I think it'll change some lives.
What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. I am Elaad Eliyahu, the White House correspondent here. You can find me on social media at Elaad Eliyahu. Thanks for tuning in.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. We're going on tour this April. We start in Albany. We're going out with Born of Osiris and Dead Eyes. You can check out All That Remains at allthatremainsonline.com to get tickets. VIPs are still available. And you can check out the band's music at Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, YouTube, Spotify, and Deezer. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will see you all at rumble.com/Timcast IRL. Thanks for hanging out.